doing it.
Are we doing it?
You ready?
I am ready.
Let's go.
All right, guys. Thank you for joining us. We are back here this Tuesday night, May 11th, the official return from the internet shortage of 2021, right into the gas shortage of May 2021. But we're back here at the show at Fish, North Georgia. We appreciate you guys tuning in. Eric Beasley and Port Taco, good to see you guys. And I'm sure we'll have others as it gets going along join us. And but if you're watching at a later date, we thank you as well. If you watch the version that will be put on YouTube permanently, so we appreciate you guys and everybody that'll be tuning in. So definitely got a good show for you tonight. We've got Mr. Jesse Millsaps, local hammer, back in the house for the National Professional Fishing League, and we're going to be talking about shad spawns, swim jigs, stuff like that, and we're going to go over his most recent tournament. Is it Wright Patman?
Wright Patman.
At Wright Patman.
Texarkana, Texas.
Texarkana, Texas. And we're going to talk about his upcoming tournament, which will be on Harris Chain.
Leesburg, Florida.
Leesburg, Florida. So definitely good to see you guys, and we do appreciate you guys tuning in. So let's take care of the business first. We'd like to definitely thank Chase Epley and the Cassidy Agency at State Farm for their continued support of Fish North Georgia. And Chase is one of us. You know, he's a family man who enjoys the outdoors. He's familiar with the needs that we have and in protecting our assets. So whether it's business or personal, home or auto, we definitely would like you to give Chase a call at 678-779-7269 for a quote, and let State Farm protect you. And just let Chase walk you through what he can do to help you with your assets like that. So we definitely appreciate their support. And we would also like to thank NoFo Brew Company for their support. They're located just off Highway 400, just north of Cumming. And, they have all the craft beer and atmosphere that you could want these days. And definitely given all the stress of life right now, everybody needs a little bit of a good time. So definitely NoFo Brew Co. Is definitely a good place for that. Tell them the guys at Fish North Georgia sent you, and, enjoy yourself. They've got some really, if you're into craft beer, they've got some really good stuff right there. So we took care of that little bit of business. You ready to get talking about that? We will have the crowd that will be arriving soon. Again, if you got questions, and another thing, we're going back to our all YouTube show. So I'm sure some guys are probably looking for us on Facebook too right now. And they're going to figure out that we're on YouTube tonight. So definitely, and they might be out hunting for gas too.
That's possible.
So it might be a late arriving crowd and all like that. So definitely, we will see. I don't even know if I did make the announcement we were going to be on YouTube. So what's up, Kevin, Justin? Appreciate you tuning in tonight. So let's jump right into the shad spawn. And like I said, people will catch up with the conversation as they come in. Getting ready to happen around here in North Georgia, or has happened, or is happening.
I think it's already been happening. It's been happening. Yeah. I was up at Lanier 2 weeks ago.
Right.
We fished one of Scott Barnes' tournaments up there, and you could throw a spinnerbait on the shoals up there, blow throughs, and had all kind of herring and everything fall on your bait back. And I just think the fish are a little behind up there from what the shad spawn is. They're probably catching up now, but
right,
because I haven't been there in the last couple of weeks. But 2 weeks ago, the herring were already starting, so I'm sure it's going on pretty good now.
Now, when people say shad spawn, now we're talking thread, fin, gizzard. I mean, is that just for every type of bait fish, or is there a specific?
So it's a gizzard shad, it's your thread fin, and then it's your blueback herring.
And do they do it in an order, or is there who comes first?
I think it's the water temperature and
right.
the long days and stuff like that gets them up there. So, they like sand. They'll spawn. Them shad spawn on rocks. They'll spawn on blow throughs of the sand, the bridge pilings. I mean, they're a hard bank. I've seen them hard on a red clay bank. So
right,
and grass. I mean,
so anywhere.
Yeah.
Now, what? So this time of year, is it the amount of sunlight in the day, the water temp? What kicks them off?
I think it's a lot of water temperature for them. I think the water temperature and the amount of sun in the days and stuff. If you notice, when we had these cool nights, they kind of slacked off.
Right.
A lot of guys. Seen a lot of guys fishing blow throughs and stuff, and they were getting random bites, but I think it was because the fish were so far behind.
Okay.
Up there.
Right.
So the shad, therefore there wasn't as many caught on the shad spawn in a couple weeks ago. But like I said, now it's probably catching up. I'm sure it's probably going on pretty. I heard this week it's getting really good this week.
Really good, and I can, the weather this year's been kind of messed up so far. I mean, it's
man,
we've got 50s tomorrow.
Yeah, and that delays. I mean, you have these cold nights,
right?
And that delays things. That puts everything behind.
Gotcha.
So,
gotcha. All right, guys. And two, listen, if you've got questions about the shad spawn, make sure you put them in the comments right there, and I'll definitely get them out to Jesse. I've got my own questions that I've been thinking about all day, but definitely want to make sure with that. Okay, we got one right there. So Justin Warren just straight coming out. What's your top 5 shad spawn baits? And I guess that depends also on as to what you're searching for.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, it's just different lakes. Obviously, a spinnerbait.
Right.
There's really good shad spawn, your flukes, good shad spawn baits, swim jig, and your top waters. I mean, those are my kind of go-to baits for shad spawn.
Now, how do you determine which species of shad is spawning at a given time? Because, of course, a threadfin is not going to be as big as a blueback, and I imagine gizzard can be as big as the biggest.
Your threadfin's kind of going to roll. You're going to see those kind of flicker up on the bank in your grass, on your rocks and stuff like that, and your herring are going to be more of a they're gonna circle. I don't know if you guys have seen it or not on on a blow through or a bridge piling, and you see them circling. That's herring spawning is what's going on there. So a lot of times your threadfins, like I said, they're flickering up on the bank. They'll look like they're jumping out of the bank. First thing of the morning. Obviously, those first couple of hours of a morning, low light conditions are your best, but it can happen all day. I mean, the fish will hang around those areas.
How long does the shad spawn last normally?
It varies. It varies. Yes, I would throw a jerk bait in the shad spawn. A lot of people catch them. That goes back to a fluke. I mean,
right.
I just throw a fluke. I just think you can work a fluke a little faster and stuff. So
I think Justin's definitely searching for something. Nodley and Chateau, he fishes those lakes up there.
Yeah.
But that if it's a largemouth lake compared to a spot lake, what do you
so a largemouth lake, we're going to look for rocks,
right,
and grass. I mean, they'll spawn in that. They'll flicker in that grass. I'm going to use Oconee and Sinclair.
Okay.
A lot of times they flicker in that grass, and you'll see it first thing in the morning. And them largemouth, they're going to be. I have seen a shad spawn, and you can't get bit in it. I mean,
right.
It's not like they're everywhere. You got to find the ones the fish are feeding in. So
right.
I mean, it's,
okay.
Those are for largemouth. I'm probably primarily topwater, buzz bait, spinner bait, that kind of bait for topwater. For those for spots, then you're looking more your flukes, your jerk baits, your spinner baits. I mean, they'll bite anything. So
gotcha. So, what do you look for when looking for a shad spawn area? So, like right now, you go to a lake and you think, okay, they should be spawning. Is there a particular in your mindset? I'm gonna look for a hard clay bank out of
it just depends on what lake. So you're gonna
let's take Lanier. Let's take Lanier. Everybody wants to know Lanier.
So Lanier, you're gonna fish a blow through. I mean, we all know they're gonna spawn. I mean, your herring are gonna spawn on a blow through. I mean, if you go out there, I mean, you're gonna see probably everybody now is gonna start on a blow through.
What is a blow through?
What is a blow through?
A blow through is anywhere that's kind of like got sand that connects the bank to an island or an island to another island.
Right.
Any kind of a pole marker, anything that kind of has that that's coming up where the shad or and they'll be in a foot of water,
right.
6 inches of water.
6 inches.
This time of year, you can catch a spot in 6 inches of water on any kind of pole marker. Well, I'm gonna use for instance, my son we fished the Scott tournament 2 weeks ago, and we pulled up on a pole marker, and it was a flat that come off of the bank, and it was a foot deep from the bank to the pole, and we caught a 494 spot. On a spinner bait.
Y'all took second in that tournament, did you not?
Yes.
Yeah, so I remember that. So, so definitely Port Taco right there. Want to know what a blow through was, and I hope you got the chance to hear what Jesse just said like that. So
a lot of the better ones will have sand. They're going to have the sand, and I'll tell you guys, even at Hartwell, any of the herring lakes, if you can see the bottom, Clarksville, I mean, we've caught fish that I can see the bottom and be casting to the dirt. I call it the dirt because it's 6 inches of water, and you could get bit in 6 inches of water when they're shad spawning this time of year.
Okay. Now, I know a lot of people. A sandy saddle. That's definitely a good way to call it, Mr. Wyatt and Daniel Ducky. Yes, we're finally back. It's going to take everybody's going to have to get used to coming back and seeing us. We are back on, and hope we never have to go through the issues that we did the past couple of weeks. It was really tough, so I couldn't even do regular work in the store.
Another thing I've seen shad spawn on too, especially the thread fins.
Right.
They'll spawn on a boat dock. I've seen them spawn under boat docks and right around boat docks, on the boat dock herself. And, when we get into that, the spinnerbait and the swim jig really come into play.
Okay.
Swimming that jig down beside the docks and stuff like that. So any kind of hard surface or anything like that, they'll spawn on. So
let's take a lot of these smaller reservoirs that we have in Georgia. So you mentioned, Hartwell and Near, but there's a lot of smaller ones. I think of Latham up here that's got, and Rocky's got gizzard, Latham's got threadfin and a few of the herring in it. So same thing, even though the lake's smaller, you still looking for the same stuff?
Yeah, if it's got rock, obviously that's one of the bridges, especially in the largemouth lakes and stuff like that. Those bridges are really key because them shad spawn on them bridges on them rocks. So yeah, any kind of hard bottom. You'll know it when especially the threadfin, because you'll be like, man, those shad are running completely out of the water. They're flickering up on the water. So yeah.
And so reaction bite. Is that a more of a reaction bite right there?
Yeah, and up in the day you can go back and slow down. Those fish are not going far. So up in the day when the sun gets up and that first couple hours dies off, you can go back and drag, or you can go back and throw a fluke, or
do they just back off a little bit?
Back off them a little bit, yeah.
Okay, so in the morning they're running up, they're spawning. As the sun gets up, they pull back a little bit, just regroup.
And the fish just set back and kind of, they're waiting for those low light conditions to pull them back up.
And in the evening, they hit they're back up there.
Again.
And then what about during the nighttime?
I don't know.
I'm
sure
curious.
They do. That's something
And so basically, it's just a buffet for bass while they're hitting it and stuff like that. So, yes, we finally paid the internet bill. Trophy Seeker Outdoors, Daryl Morris. We had a very fun trip up to Nickajack up in Chattanooga, just on the backside of Chickamauga Dam. Getting on them big catfish. There will be a video coming out when Josh has some time to finally go ahead and finish that. But guys, if you need to go to Trophy Seeker Outdoors on YouTube and watch some of his videos, he will definitely put you on. And that's another thing. Now that we've done done that trip, we need to get him back in here and kind of go back over some of the finer points that we kind of noticed that day. Carter's Lake. Now that's got I murder every time I say it. The what? L-Y.
Yeah.
Did I say that?
Alewife.
Alewife.
Yeah.
An alewife. What's up, farmer? An alewife. So same thing, I guess, with them too, right?
Same thing as a herring. It's
same thing as a herring.
Too.
So that you're looking for same stuff. Now that's an extremely deep lake, but they're pulling up on the
they're
shallow. Same thing.
The shallow, same way. Carter's is if somebody can figure out Carter's without water rising and lower the way that it does there and what the fish do, it suspends those fish. Those fish, they pull out over that timber and they got such deep water they suspend in, and it's so unpredictable there.
I know it's amazing. Carter's always comes up and down, up and down, up and down. So basically, we're looking in North Georgia, just say from Notley on down to Allatoona. Basically, the herring, threadfin, shad spawn, basically should be either wrapping up, going on right now. Should be.
Yes, you're still going to find it through sections now, but it's probably to the point where we're running a little behind. I think there's still fish spawning on Lanier. I think there's still fish on bed over there.
Right.
So you're still going to have some, which is late for this time of year. It's late. So you're probably still going to have some shad spawning right now going on.
Gotcha. Well, what about as you go on farther down south, though? Is it a different type? Is the shad spawn the same, just happens later?
No, it's kind of the same thing. It's just their water warms up quicker.
So they've already done it way before us?
Yeah. They're ahead.
They're ahead.
They're going to be ahead of us. Like you go to Eufaula or you go to Sinclair, Oconee.
Right.
It could still be going on in some parts of the lake there, but it should be wrapping up in those places.
Gotcha. What's up, Walton Doyle? So that's what I find to. So it's almost like the rut in deer hunting except
Yes,
backwards because
backwards.
I got you. So like that. Okay. All right. What is your personal favorite way to attack a shad spawn?
I like top water. Just
So
like
top
everybody
water.
else. I mean,
now when you say top water, now are you a chug bug guy? Are you a buzzbait guy?
I'm a buzzbait, walking bait kind of guy.
Okay.
I like a spinnerbait on the shad spawn too. I mean, spinnerbait's going to catch a lot of fish in the shad spawn.
Does water clarity determine this?
Yes.
What you're throwing?
Yes.
And we'll get into the right pattern because you had some really awful conditions of muddy water there. For us anyway, it looked muddy on TV. It looked really muddy on TV. But so let's just say you go up to Lanier right now, your first cast of the day, you know there's a shad spawn, or at least you think is going on. You're throwing a top water.
Yeah, top water, fluke or spinnerbait.
Fluke or spinnerbait like that. You matching the hatch with the.
No, I just think it's reaction. I mean, they're up there feeding, so I mean, you put it by them and they're going to eat it.
Okay.
I mean, I literally, like I said, my son caught the 494 last 2 weeks ago, and I made the cast with a swim bait right beside it, and it ate the spinnerbait.
It ate the spinnerbait. Okay, I got you like that. So, Evergreen SB 105 and a Lucky Craft gunfish for me, and I guess that goes into with the confidence.
It's whatever you have confidence in. I mean, I think if you have confidence in throwing an evergreen, I mean, absolutely throw an evergreen.
Right.
It's just, I think if you put it in front of a fish and he's feeding on shad, he's going to eat it.
Gotcha. So what's your setup? Like as far as rod, reel, line, I mean, what are we throwing this on?
So on the top water, I'm throwing the medium to medium heavy Veritas.
Mm-hmm.
The Abu Garcia Veritas with the ALF, the 6-4-1 or the 8-1 year ratio.
Okay.
With braid line.
Braided line.
Yeah.
No leader, nothing. Braided line all the way.
Just straight braid if I'm throwing top water.
Okay. What about with that spinnerbait?
Spinnerbait, I'm going same, medium heavy.
Right. Same
action
rod.
Same with it just depends. I like to burn a spinnerbait, that time of year. So I'm probably going 8-1, but I throw it on 15 or 16 pound Berkeley Triling fluorocarbon.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So nothing really fancy, just straight workman kind of stuff going in there, throw it in there.
Bites. You can get away with bigger line if you're doing that.
Okay. So you haven't had a couple of bites, and so you're thinking, all right, so this particular spot, sun's getting up a little bit, shad's pulling off. What are we going to start targeting them with after that? After the initial reaction bite, are you still going for a reaction deeper? Or?
No, you can back up and throw a swim bait deeper. Throwing a Kitech and stuff like that, or the Power Swimmer by Berkeley and stuff like that. Or I'll back up and throw the a Texas rig, Berkeley General.
Okay.
And just drag it along the bottom because a lot of times those fish back up, or you can throw a wacky rig, something like that. Just slow down a little bit and kind of stay in the same area. Just back off.
What do you think they're backing up? What, 10, 15 foot?
Between that 7 and 15 foot.
So if you're fishing from the bank and you luck up on bail, fish one of these spots that got a little bit of a spawn going, and as the sun gets up and you see them back off, you're just you're casting out as far as you can, just dragging back.
I have seen in those times, like Clark Hill and Lanier, those fish don't ever back up. They'll stay that shallow all day. And especially if they got a little wind, those fish will stay in that foot of water. They'll never leave. They'll stay there, and sometimes they go through biting. They'll go through periods that they'll feed, and if you pull up on the right thing, and up in the day, sun shining bright, they'll still be in a foot of water eating. Okay. A fluke's a good choice when they get in that foot of water or top water.
So most of these fish, though, would you consider them post spawn? They're out chasing.
Yeah, they're post spawn fish.
Post spawn.
A lot of the guys I was talking to some guys 2 weeks ago, and they were fishing those blow throughs, and they're like, "Man, I had some swat at my bait, and I could see the herring fall on my spinnerbait back, or I could see the herring fall on my swim bait back, or whatever." And they would get a bite just randomly, one here and one there. What they didn't realize, them spots, they spawn on that sand. So you're throwing over a fish that's reacting. The spot's aggressive anyway when he's on bed.
Right.
Chances are he's probably catching a bedding fish and didn't realize it.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So
absolutely.
Unless you can pull up to a place and you get multiple bites, like if you're pulling up to a place and you catch 4, 5, 7, 10, that kind of thing, then you're on a good shad spawn. If you pull up to a shad spawn and you got them following you back, but you're not getting bit, and you may get one bite, or you may get a bite and he slaps at your bait and don't really get it.
Right.
chances are that fish is on bed on that pole marker or that blow through.
Gotcha. And you can tell by the amount of bites and stuff like that. Do
you find a really good shad spawn?
Yeah.
You find the fish on it and it's really good, you're going to get multiple bites.
And you're going to know it.
You're going to know I've seen some 18 to 20 pound stringers come in 10 minutes.
Really?
On those kind of bites.
Oh,
yes.
I'd like to get in on one of those right there. Do you ever modify any of your plastics in your lures? And if so, what is the best modification? I'm assuming that we're staying with the spot.
I mean, if you're modifying, when you say modify, I mean, yeah, I dip the tail in chartreuse sometimes, but modifying, I mean, a lot of times we'll nail weight the end of them.
When you throw like a wacky rig or something like that?
We'll nail weight, and sometimes I don't. So that'd be the only modification I ever do to them.
So you don't do nothing with the Kitech or nothing like make it shorter. You just change sizes. What generally is, because we were up there looking at the Kitechs upstairs, and I mean, what is your favorite go-to size for all around? I mean, or do you match it? If I'm throwing a thread fin.
So it'd be a 3.3.
3.3. If I got a herring.
I mean, if you got the herring, you can get by with the 3.8. Okay. I just think a little bit bigger one. I mean, if you're targeting, as the year progresses, you can go a little bigger. You can get maybe a little bigger stuff. In the wintertime, the bait's kind of small. They're feeding kind of small, so I try to go a little smaller.
I got you. What do you think about the big swim baits during this time? Useless? You throw them. Okay.
No, I throw them.
You throw them. All right.
I mean, I throw them this time of year because it's a reaction bite. I mean, I feel like if you're throwing a little Kitech, a 3.3, you're going to catch a lot of fish. But if you're throwing that sweet herring or that big Seville or something like that, I mean, may not get as many bites, but when you get one, it's probably going to be
a quality fish and all that. So, I
feel that way with the spinnerbait too. That's the reason we were throwing a spinnerbait 2 weeks ago. I mean, I didn't think we was going to get a lot of bites on that spinnerbait, but I feel like if we got one, it's going to be the right one.
You must have got some quality bites. What'd y'all end up having that tournament?
We had 17.
What won it?
1833.
Yeah, but there was some good sacks because it had been some tough fishing.
It was tough. It wasn't just I mean, that's the only bite we got offshore. I sight fished the rest of my fish.
Really? On that day for that tournament? Because we'd fished a couple of the Wednesday nights and stuff like that, and it wasn't easy. And I was noticing I was keeping the tabs on some of the tournaments and some of the weights. And Lanier goes through that phase where you think they should be just crushing, but it's like right after post spawn. It seems like
the fish when they come out of spawning, they're kind of sick. People don't realize there's a week and a half, 2 week period. Those fish they're not just going to be very aggressive. But when they come out of that period, they're ready to heal up and they're ready to eat.
Right, that's right.
I mean, that's when it goes down, and then that's when you hit it right on the lake. No matter what lake you're on, when you get it right on that lake, that's when it goes down. That's when it's fun.
Gotcha. Interesting there from Ron Pendergrass here. Question: I'm old school. You ever throw a Carolina rig?
Not enough. I should more than what I do. Yes.
You know what? It's funny about Carolina rig is a lot of people bring that up, and I've never had any success with it, but I don't throw it enough.
Yeah,
I'll be the first to say that.
I mean, a Carolina rig is something that gets overlooked so much, and it catches. I mean, it catches some big fish
year round too. I mean, year round.
Yes.
So with a shad spawn, even good with that. I guess if you got a weightless fluke or I guess on the backside.
I've never thrown it on a shad spawn, so
I'm just curious.
I'm sure you could. I mean,
but yeah, a lot of people bring up the Carolina rig, and I'm just like, I wished I knew more about it.
It's a simple bait.
It is
simple. I mean, the leader difference is makes a big difference. I will say that.
Right.
So we were fishing Clark Hill one time and going on, and we really couldn't get bit, up shallow, but we put on a Carolina rig with a fluke on it and, throwing it shallow with a short leader, and we started hammering them. And I was like, who would have thought,
Well, what's your biggest fish you've ever caught on a shad spawn?
On a shad spawn,
yeah,
I would probably around 7.
Round 7.
Yeah.
A
lot of 4s and 5s.
A lot of 4s and 5. Good tournament fish.
Yeah.
You do some good tournament stuff on that. Now on that though, on a shad spawn, again, reaction. You didn't know that fish was there. So we're not sight fishing.
No, it's all
and on that. That's definitely that. What's up, Eric Thurman? While I got you here, I want to definitely remind everybody that we are getting closer to opening our store up full time, and we're definitely going to be doing the Georgia Mountain Food Bank food drive continually. I still have got people from time to time as they come in. They're bringing us some food items. And again, this is something that we want to continue doing at Fish North Georgia. So especially once we are open, if you guys come in, a can or two at a time makes a difference to a lot of people these days. And so we want to make sure we do our part, and we will always continue. You definitely tell Rebecca we're definitely going to do. She's instrumental with this, working with the Georgia Mountain Food Bank. And I hope I said everything right. I haven't made. Did I say that right, Paul? Yeah, I haven't said. We haven't talked about it in a while, but I haven't forgot about it. Did I nail it? Listen, I'm out of practice, guys. I haven't been on in it seems like a month, but definitely want to thank you guys, and we're going to continue doing that. So I've got some food for you guys to pick up here in the next week. That would be great, like that. So, but good to see you. Yeah, Chris Taylor, definitely. It's been tough on Lanier. And here's something that I noticed. We fished a couple of weeks ago. I didn't see anything and we were fishing in the evenings. Mm-hmm. So I didn't see anything that resembled a shad spawn or anything like that. Mm-hmm. So if you're on a lake and one should be occurring, it should be happening, but you don't physically see it. What's your instincts tell you?
So it'll happen at different times of the lake. So you'll have it start. I'm going to use Lanier as an example. Mm-hmm. You'll have it happen in the river because it warms up a little quicker, which the shad spawn and the bass actually spawn there first.
Right.
Then it'll happen mid-lake. Then it'll work its way down the lake. So at some point, you can actually follow it. I mean, you can follow it down the lake on different places, and you'll see it progress as the lake goes down the lake because, obviously the water's been cooler down the lake, so it's going to be a little later down there.
Right. Now, do you think, again, and I guess if we're talking upriver on Lanier compared to down south, different, are you looking for different structure to target?
No, it's all the same.
All the same.
Yeah, there's still the blow-throughs.
Still the blow-throughs and stuff like that. Maybe that's why no one catches fish at Carter's. Listen, Carter's is its own animal right there. Wyatt Richards, I've heard of people fishing super flukes on a Carolina rig and catching some monsters on points. And that's kind of what I thought about when we were talking about shad spawn, dragging that back. Ron Pendergrass, 32-inch to 6-foot leaders. Good Lord, a 6-foot leader. I don't even know.
I don't know how you throw. That's
what I'm going to say. It's almost like a floating fly kind of situation.
I struggle with that floating fly, so that's a 6-foot leader. So
that's true. So I guess so. But that's kind of maybe might be a good thing if they're pulled off a little bit.
I would think so.
Okay, absolutely. So yeah, I don't know, but that's definitely a good thing. I want to talk about swim jigs because number one, you're very good at throwing them, and number two, I want you. A lot of people. When it comes to shad spawn, I hear swim jigs a lot. Yeah. I hear swim jig mentioned a lot.
Yeah, if you guys watch the Elite Series, they throwed it on the Elite Series this week.
Right.
Over Neely Henry in that grass.
Yeah.
They were targeting, there was some shad spawning in there, and they was throwing. A swim jig is so versatile. I caught fish on a swim jig on Lanier in March by the docks. When they're pulling up, I was throwing a swim jig there in March by the docks. Swimming it. It's like they never seen one before over there.
Yeah, I remember you telling me.
And then, it's so versatile. You can throw it around docks. You can throw it around wood. You can throw it in the grass. It's just so versatile, and it's a bait that doesn't get used enough. I feel like, it's starting to come on again because you see guys throwing it, but it's there's different ways. There's so much to swim jig, and it ain't just put on a white jig or a black and blue jig and go down the bank and fish it. Just throw it and reel it back.
Right.
You can shake it. You can hop it. You can use different trailers.
Yeah. What are we mimicking?
So you're mimicking a shad.
Just a shad.
Just a shad. So or a crayfish because you're throwing black and blue. It's a reaction bait still.
Again, reaction bait.
Still a reaction bait.
Let's stick. Of course, we're shad spawn. So let's stick for a little bit on it with the shad. Shad spawn. Like I said, a lot of guys throw the whites, and they have some off colors and stuff. And I know your favorite colors or your colors you like to throw. But is it the jig itself, or is it the trailer, or how you work it?
So the trailer has a lot to do with it. Like if the water's clear, I'm gonna throw a white with a silver, with a black and silver, kind of mimicking that shad. I'll go with a smaller profile. A lot of guys throw like a power swimmer, Kitech kind of bait on the back of them when that's happening, and they work great. I try to throw like a super crawl, something, depending on what water clarity. I'll throw a rage crawl. Any kind of bait that's got big flappers move more water if the water's a little stained.
Right.
So all that makes a difference.
So on a shad spawn, though, you're going to be moving that thing faster.
So sometimes,
okay,
sometimes
all right.
like if in a clear water, you need it coming. You need it moving. You need it shaking. You need it coming. In the dirtier water,
yeah,
we're trying to move water to get a reaction bite. So
right. Does it matter if you throw white or a bluegill color?
I think it's just preference. I mean, and some guys do throw a bluegill color, and I think each day is different.
Right.
I experiment. I'll throw a black and blue a lot. I'll throw a white a lot, and I'll even in my whites, I'll throw a silver with black in it, and I'll throw one with orange in it.
What's weight got to do with it?
So a 1/4 ounce obviously is going to be more buoyant. It's going to stay up in the water column a little higher. You can see it a little more. A 1/2 ounce, I feel like you can work it faster and keep it up, or you can allow it to sink down. Sometimes I hop mine. I'll see it, but it's kind of going up and down in the water column.
So you're working it with your rod?
Yes, I'm working it with the rod and my reel, and different reactions to it.
Okay, and do you ever pull up on a certain situation where there is a certain type of structure and you say, this definitely 100% is a swim jig area? Or is it just one of many baits you have in your arsenal?
It's just one of many baits. I mean, because sometimes it's a subtle bait. It's more like a spinner bait. It's going to put off a lot of vibration and stuff like that. But your swim jig, it's subtle, and you can get by with a bait that's kind of coming through, and they're like, oh, that's an easy target. I'm just going to run up and grab it.
Right.
Smaller, compact profile, and your hookup ratios. If you use the right rod, the medium heavy rod. I can't use a heavy rod. A lot of guys use a heavy rod, and throw it, but I can't. I take it away from more fish than I do. I have to use a medium heavy with a fast tip, because 95% of the fish you see on a swim jig, you're going to watch them eat it.
Yes.
So, and that's like
I got
crazy.
I got you. Now, I want to. There was a comment by Daniel. This guy is giving out the juice, taking notes. Thank you, sir. Let me tell you why. Because he's good, and he knows he can do it. He's still gonna beat you. So
No.
it's confidence. He knows. Hey, listen. But no, Jesse's one of our favorite guests because he does. He's not afraid to. Well, you're still confident. You gotta have confidence in what you're doing
if you're gonna fish. I mean,
especially on the level you fish on.
There's some guys out there. This year is the first year I fished. The National Professional Fishing League, and the guys I'm fishing against, some of them I've heard of, some of them I haven't.
Right.
And I can tell you, regionally, all over from the guys I'm fishing, there's some guys I've never heard their name of, but let me tell you something, they are straight up hammers.
Oh yeah, seriously.
I mean, absolutely can flat out catch them.
Yeah. Oh, that's some impressive weights been put
it's
up.
unreal. And I've met some really great guys all over the country because of it.
Right. And I tell you another thing too is when we're going to talk a lot about the National Professional Fishing League here in just a little bit, I wanted to get the section on the shad spawn out of the way because, you can watch this live just like you can all the other ones, stuff like that. And then he was telling me now you can go back and watch some stuff they've got on YouTube. And so there's a lot of good stuff about this this tour that we're going to talk about. And Hammers is there's some.
Oh man,
yeah, there's some good fishermen. I mean, if you took the time to watch any of this so far, some of these guys, then their names that I haven't heard of. But I mean, just boom, 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 boom. They're throwing it out there.
I mean, you better have your A game.
You better
step on the water with some of these guys.
Absolutely. How would you tackle the shad spawn later in the afternoon? Would it be different than earlier in the day? And Michael Temples, yes, it is nice to be back, buddy.
So, I mean, it's still the same. I mean, obviously, the lower light condition is going to be your last hour right before dark is going to be the best.
Mm-hmm.
The fish, and shad are going to pull back up and stuff. So, you kind of tackle it the same way.
Gotcha.
Just reverse what you're doing of a morning, of an evening.
Okay, there you go.
Start out a little deeper and follow them shallow.
Absolutely. Why would you choose a white swim jig over a chatterbait? That's a good question. Now listen, and here's that, because when I watched the last tournament that you had, some guys were throwing a chatter, some guys, you were throwing a swim jig. So what's your rationale?
I just think you can use both. I mean, it's what you have confidence in. I can put a swim jig in places you can't put a chatterbait.
Okay, yeah.
So a chat, if you're putting in certain conditions, like say the trees, if you're really thick trees, I can slide that slim jig in places back there, and they're not going to get hung up. Where at chatterbait's going to get hung up.
Yeah, we were talking upstairs. Of course, is it Wright Patman?
Right, Patman.
Wright
Yes.
Patman. That's in Texarkana.
Yes, great place.
Great. He's in love with the place. We were talking about this lake, but one thing he was talking about was the amount of snakes in the trees that you didn't see. But he was putting these, and we'll talk about it in a little while. But you were putting these things way on back in.
Yeah, so
garbage.
You had. I mean, there it was like if you took a forest and lined it down the bank. That's what you were fishing.
Oh yeah, it was unreal.
Insane. I've never fished a place like this. It was of all the fisheries I've fished, I've never been to a place that had that many trees out in front of the bank.
Oh, absolutely. And now that's gonna lead me to this question. It's a little bit off of the Shad Spawn, but it was a question that Blake himself wanted me to ask you this. How do you go about breaking down a lake that you've never ever seen in your life for a tournament? He wanted to know that. He wanted me to ask that question. And since you just basically said, I've never fished a lake like this with this many trees, I thought that was a good time to ask that question.
So when I go to a lake like that, and I've never been to a place, getting one bite is very key. Getting two bites is really, really key.
Gotcha.
So you try to do research, and obviously now we have all the knowledge you can have online. We use it, Google Earth. We try to look past tournaments, but Wright Patman was an unknown. We went there and you couldn't find anything online about bass fishing.
Really?
Nothing. I mean, we researched. I mean, it was everything you could do. They catfish and crappie fish out there. That's all they do. I mean, and why I don't know, but that's
surprising given the weights you guys were catching.
So yeah, and they have. I was talking to one of the local guys that fish with us out there, and he was like, "Yeah, it's a hidden gem that nobody's heard of." Well, it's not gonna be now, of course.
Right.
There, but as far as breaking down a lake that you've never been to, pay attention to where you get bites and how you get bites, but also fish the time of year that you're there. So kind of understand fish movements and stuff. And if you can do that, that'll help you a lot going to places you've never been.
Now, was a shad spawn going on there?
Yes, and I didn't find it, but I heard that it was, and some of the guys did find it, but I never found it. Even the lake was as small as it was.
How many acres was it? Was it more like a river kind of?
No, it was a lake.
It was a lake.
It had a river system, but I mean, there's so many islands and so many trees.
But y'all got a hell of a lot of rain.
Yeah, it rained that Friday night. It rained a lot.
Yeah,
but, I mean, the lake was falling. I've never been to a lake that when the lake was falling, the fish still stayed shallow. This lake, they stayed shallow.
Really?
I've never been to a lake that's done that before.
Now, it's pretty interesting. And just sticking on that, the first day on this, breaking down your first day of practice, the water was so far up into some of these places, but by the time you'd gotten down to the tournament, it had fallen down, and those were not fishable anymore.
So, yes. So, when we first arrived there, the lake was still high. It was like, I don't remember how many feet it was above, but the islands where they had so much cover around them, the middle of the islands had so much water on, the fish were there, and you couldn't get to them because you couldn't go through the trees and back to the island in the middle of the islands. So, as the lake was falling, it was pulling the fish off the islands and to the points of those islands. And that's what I had keyed in on as the lake was falling, they were coming to there. And it was that. But
was that your game plan going in? Like, I'm just going, were you looking for a shad spot going in?
No, I really thought everything tells you when the water's falling on any lake in the state of Georgia, when the water's falling, the fish suspend. Well, they don't suspend. They stay in a foot of water.
They did stay shallow because I remember watching.
Insane. I was like,
y'all were throwing. I mean, not just you, all the competitors. Y'all were just.
It was 3 foot or less all week.
The whole But now we're largemouth bass fishing. There's no spots. Yeah. Did that lake have any spots in it at all, or
not?
Not that you know of. Okay,
but I do know. After talking to some of the guys, they were like, yeah, the fish here, they've where the lake rises and falls so much, they've kind of adjusted to it. They know where to pull to when the lake's coming down. So,
just naturally like that. So and that question was a little bit, that whole subject about breaking down the lake was a little bit pulled out, but
and each lake's different too. So like going to the Harris Chain,
you've never been there either.
I've never been on the Harris Chain. We go there. Yeah, we go there at the end of this month.
So how are you preparing now for it?
So there we do have videos, but the videos there are always in March, January, February, March, Florida fishing. Everybody goes there early in the year.
Yeah.
We're going there in the 1st of June. So
It's going to be hot.
It's going to be hot. And, I look at it as two things can happen there. Fish are either going to go a little deeper and be on shell beds and brush piles there, or they're going to go extremely shallow. Because when the hot water gets so hot, a lot of those fish will pull up shallow. They'll go shallow just because there's more oxygen shallow than they are in between.
Right.
But a Florida fish is different. I mean, they're just it's a Florida fish. They're gonna
lots of things in Florida are a little different.
Deep in Florida is 12 foot.
That's exactly right. Absolutely. So I like that comment, Michael Temples. I try not to lose a $16 jackhammer in the trees. If you guys definitely
funny you say that. Go back and watch you fall, and you'll see I had two stuck in 2 cypress trees while I was trying to catch a bedding fish.
But now, you follow.
I made that comment.
Yeah, you follow. If you go back now, you said now the National Professional Fishing League is on YouTube.
It is, yes.
So you can go back
to YouTube
and
watch all the videos of live coverage for the 3 days.
Yeah, so it's 3 days, and now they put cameras on 10 boats each day.
Yes.
And you've had the pleasure of having a camera on your boat in both tournaments.
On the last day, I had it the first day you followed, then the last 2 tournaments, the last day I've had a camera.
Yeah, so that's good. That says you're doing something right if they want to follow you. But I remember the first time I watched you on Eufaula, and we're back to the swim jig because you're talking about it being versatile.
Yeah.
You're working a bedding fish, and I thought, you've been on since that tournament. Have we talked about that on the show?
So.
Yeah. Okay. I've talked about it with so many people because I thought it was interesting. I want to, and I know we're a little late on this, but I still want to break down that one fish. So you had a buck and you had a big girl in the area. Yeah. You're working it with a jig, and we'll talk about jigs later, but you're working it with a swim jig. And tell everybody what your plan was, because it was absolutely, and I think that we've discussed it on the show.
Yeah.
It was something different because just you tell everybody how you approached trying to get that big girl to bite.
So when I would try to get the male to react, he was biting every cast. He would get it and carry it out of every cast.
And this is on camera.
When he would get excited, the female would try to pull up, and she would get excited, which in turn she would try to bite. And once a lot of times, sometimes you can catch the male and the female will pull up on the bed, but sometimes you catch that male and she's going to leave. Yeah, she won't do her thing. But in saying that, if you watch the video, I actually get her to bite and I hook her and roll her and she comes off.
Yeah, well, it's not the end of the story though, because there was a lot to be learned. Even in days like that though, it was to watch you worked it, but you would actually let that buck hit it and just kind of free spool it or not set the hook.
Take it off. Yeah.
You wanted him to drop it.
I wanted him to drop it, and his problem was he was going to get it before she could get it.
Yeah, and so a lot of people were like, I mean, the first time a fish hits, it doesn't matter. They're setting the hook.
Yeah.
You on purpose, you wanted that thing to pull it off just to get her excited and wound up, which I thought was interesting because, and you were very patient with that. You worked that fish for a while.
I wasn't patient enough.
No,
I will say this, and I'm going to say this because this was on camera. And I'm going to put this 2 ways. When there's $9,000 on the line, 36th place, and you're letting that fish go that could potentially get you a $9,000 check, that's tough.
I know.
I was sitting there like, man, am I crazy? What am I doing? But then I'm thinking, not only is there $9,000 on the line, there's $50,000 on the line for first. And if this one big one to bite, that moves me. And every place is dollars. So. It's a lot goes into that. When you're sitting there. So it's the stress level is there.
That's what I'm saying. That was the beautiful thing about watching all that, because I'm sitting there, I know you, I'm like, I know this guy and I'm wanting you to catch this fish. And I'm just like, and when you rolled her, I was like, but then you talked about, well, I've educated her and stuff, but you were talking through it.
I can say this, if there wouldn't have been other boats in the pocket with me, there was another tournament going on that Saturday, I would have never caught the buck. I would have left him there and I would have come back to him in about an hour.
Okay. So all right. So that's something that, we couldn't take from what was going on.
So when there's more pressure in that Saturday, there was a lot of boat pressure on the lake.
Gotcha.
So, and when that happens, you got a decision to make. If I pull off of this fish, is somebody going to come behind me and catch this fish? Are you going to leave it? Or, because then I'm looking, this fish is still a pound and a half, 2 pounds into my weight.
Right.
Or, if it would have been on Thursday and that would have happened, chances are that fish I would have never caught it. I would have left it there.
Gotcha.
Just on account of the boat traffic wasn't as much. There wasn't as many people.
It's absolutely amazing to watch what was going on with that. But
Yeah.
again, and like I said, we're going to talk about the National Professional Fishing League a little bit here. We really kind of segued into it a little bit. We were trying to do the swim jig stuff, and that's again another thing. But you were using a swim jig.
Yeah.
And
actually, the same swim jig I was using in Texas.
He was, but you were on that one. Sometimes you would pull it and drop it, and sometimes you'd pull it right by him.
Yes.
When you pull it and drop it, I know you're wanting to pick it up and carry it out, but when you would pull it right by him, you were mentioning something about fish positioning.
Yeah, so when they're on bed, I'm trying to position them. I'm trying to get one to pull up to position itself so I can get it ready to bite.
If I remember correctly, you mentioned something about, okay, she is sitting a certain way, she's more apt to hit.
Yes. So,
and if that's a secret, you don't
no,
want to
it's
get,
not a secret. I don't care to tell people because I don't fish around here much. I do. If I jump in here, it's just something I'm home.
Right.
I'm fishing, but a lot of times when those fish are on bed and I catch it, and if I can catch a fish facing, like it's facing toward the bed, and I'm throwing the bait past the bed and bringing it to it, it's more apt to bite than it is if that fish is sitting over to the side and I'm trying to bring it in front of it. But the only thing with that is you have to be very, very careful because when that fish is facing away from you, that is 90% of the time, if you don't really understand what's going on and you don't let that fish hit it and take off with it, you'll foul hook it. That's where people can make the biggest mistake.
Okay.
Is I personally will let a fish run and grab it if I'm throwing the fish is facing away from me and I'm throwing and bringing it to it and he hits it, it's going to turn and swim out with it before I'm going to set the hook because I need to see that jig is gone before it does.
Gotcha, and that's a big no.
It's just you foul hook them. Yeah, I'm guilty of it. I foul hooked one in the spot sticker or not spot sticker, the gambler tournament over there.
Yeah,
my wife was with me and I worked it for 35 minutes and I made a mistake and I set the hook and I foul hooked right outside the mouth. I had to turn it back.
Well, that's still an honorable thing to do too.
Yeah, that's what happens.
That's what and that's what you're supposed to.
Yep.
What length of rod are you using for a swim jig, and what weight of a jig do you like to use the most?
So I throw a 1/2 ounce most of the time, just because it's so versatile. Because I can move it up and down in the water column, and I throw it depending on if I'm trying to make a precise cast, a 7.1, 7.3.
Yeah,
but the medium heavy with a fast tip is key. Because I started out with a heavy. I was like, hey, when one gets it, I'm going to jack him.
Right.
You got to drive that hook. I was taking it. They would hit it, and I'd take it away from them. Because that fast tip, when you stiff rod, you're going to take it away. I switched to that medium heavy, and my hookup ratio went way up.
Way up. And again, what kind of rod do you like to use?
I throw the Veritas, the 7.3 Veritas.
7.3 Veritas. That's
fast tip.
What line again?
So a swim jig, you can do one or two. A lot of people throw braid.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just. A braid's okay, but to me, if you get hung or you set the hook really hard, that braid wants to bury down in the braid, and people have struggled. I struggle with it.
Right.
I throw it if I'm throwing a swim jig because reaction, I'm throwing 16 to 20 pound test fluorocarbon
all the way, no braid on it, just straight up, no leader like that. Yep. So, Mr. Brock Turner, who will be on here Thursday night, he's taking notes. So we appreciate you jumping in tonight, and I'm sure people will be taking notes Thursday night as well. So amazing story. Fishing is all about patience, no matter what species, and that's true, especially when money's on the line and you see a potential paycheck sitting right there.
I started this thing with my wife, and and I've been fortunate. I picked up some sponsors to help pay the entry fees and stuff like that. But I started this. I fished the lower levels for years, and I told my wife going into this, I said, I'm going to approach every tournament trying to win. And what happens.
Yeah.
If I get a check along the way, I get a check along the way. But when I put my boat in, I'm trying to win.
I got you.
It's just what I've come to this year.
All right, and this is a good opportunity. We're going to do a couple things right here. Let's see. I got a couple questions that we're going to get to. Farmer, let me do that one right there. How would you approach Eufaula if it would be your first time there? Now you're going to be fishing Eufaula.
Somebody must be going to BFL. I'll be there.
Yeah, Farmer will be. Farmer will be if it will be there.
I'll go ahead and tell you, there's going to be a swim jig bite and there's going to be an offshore bite there. So I mean, you know, it's going to be, if I'm approaching it for the first time, not knowing the offshore bite, I'm probably going to fish. There's a lot of the grass left there. People don't know it. When I was down there earlier in the year, you know, they dropped the lake and a lot of the grass is not there that used to be there. So it's going to fish a little different this year than when I
Why'd they drop the lake?
They had to work on the dam.
Oh, okay.
Last year they dropped it. They dropped it way down, and so this year is going to fish a little different. I mean, but it's you follow it. It's got big fish in it. It's going to take some weight to win.
Okay. All right. Excellent. We're getting ready to do the question of the night. And again, got that question. The first person that will give us the correct answer is going to win right here. We've got 2 Georgia Blade spinner baits and a nighttime spinner bait. All right. So this is definitely a pattern that's coming up. I know with the lights, I don't know if I can catch you with that, but then you got it. Was you able to get that? So we're definitely going to do that. And we're going to transition into, more of the national professional. I want to talk about, you know, the life a little bit and leading into that. But I also want to take the chance right here, and I want to talk to you about one-way landscaping, okay? Charlie Buchanan, he's a friend of us up here at Fish, North Georgia, and definitely want to give him a shout-out for his business. A little bit of everything. This man is good with everything from general construction, drainage issues, landscape issues, no job too big, too small. He's looking to expand his business, and we want to help him do just that. So I want you to give Charlie a call, 770-337-0478. Tell him the guys at Fish North Georgia sent you. You will not be unhappy with the decision to give him a call. We all have these list of things to do that either time or sometimes just people don't have the talent to do it. You know, I'm in that boat sometimes that I just can't figure it all out myself. So definitely he's a good one to call. Don't let the word landscaping though in the name of his company fool you. He does landscaping, but he can do any general construction job out there. So definitely give Charlie a call, 770-337-0478. And so now the question of the night, Rob Young, will you take me fishing? Maybe.
Rob's going through withdrawals. He's having to work on his boat, and I'm sure he's going through withdrawals.
Oh, is he? Oh, bless his heart.
He's had to redo his console, and it's giving. I mean, I know. I can trust you. If I'd have been in Rob's shoes, my boat would have been sank somewhere.
Right.
No, I couldn't have done it.
Rob Young and patience. That's 2 words I did not.
Hey, he's put it together. It looks great what he's done.
That's
but
awesome.
He's still battling with it.
That's awesome. All right. So if you were on the Fish North Georgia group page today, you saw that I posted a little video clip from the movie Bull Durham. That's one of the best baseball movies of all time since baseball season has started. But Crash Davis was the catcher. All right. So here's the question for the 3 Georgia Blade spinnerbaits. First one to answer in the comments gets it. Now, granted, we know he's not a real character, but there's still a number. How many home runs that Crash Davis hit during his minor league career? Because in the movie, he is the all-time minor league home run king. So just curious. First person to answer that gets the Georgia Blade spinnerbaits. And again, that's a great movie. If you guys haven't watched Bull Durham, it's absolutely one of the best baseball movies of all time. So you're close there, Brian, but that's not it. So Tim Wyatt, there you go. Tim Wyatt's got it. 247. Crash Davis hit 247 home runs in the minor leagues. So we knew that wouldn't take long for somebody to answer. So, Tim, I'll get you them spinner baits out. If you want me to just bring them to you Saturday, I can bring them to you Saturday at the Electric Elite's next tournament down on Black Shoals. So let's talk about some tournament fishing. That's one of the things now that we're 2 tournaments into the National Professional Fishing League. And we'll just call it the NPFL from here on out. Yeah. So 2 tournaments in. It's a new series. What is your take so far? You fished Eufaula, you fished Wright Patman. So let's talk about the life going into it, what you're having to do to prepare, and these tournaments, the experiences and all that.
Going into it, it's starting a new organization, starting out. There was a lot of unknowns.
Right.
You're putting up a lot of money to fish with a group of guys that you know nothing about.
Right.
And after the first event, especially after the second event, I mean, it's been above and beyond what I could expect.
Right.
To say the staff there is great would be an understatement.
Uh-huh.
Everything they're putting into this league is top notch. Their camera guys, their commentators, everything that they're doing is just unbelievable. to see somebody come out and start and to do what they've accomplished in the first two events has been amazing.
Right. And again, they start on Thursdays.
So we start on we actually have an off limits period of 20 days before official practice. Nobody can be on the water. We can't get any information on any lake unless it's public knowledge since December the 20th, I think it is, or December the 1st.
Oh, like for the entire year? For
the entire year. Like somebody was to come up to me and say, hey, I caught them on so-and-so. I have to stop you and say, no, I can't.
So there's an honor system right there.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And they do give out polygraphs. So there's a polygraph to some of the guys, and it's randomly selected throughout the top. So we have that 20-day off limits. Nobody can be there. Nobody can be on the lake. We all show up on Sunday. We get 3 days of practice. Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. The lake goes off limits on Wednesday. And then we start on Thursday. Everybody fishes Thursday, Friday, and Saturday.
Right.
For cumulative lake wins for the 3 days.
Okay. Is there a point system?
So, yes, we all get points. And the top 25 at the end of the year go and fish for another $250,000.
All right. So where are you currently right now?
I'm in 7th.
7th.
Yeah, I've got a 10th and a 12th. Show you how good the competition is.
Yeah.
Finished 10th at Eufaula and 12th at Wright Patman, and I'm in 7th in points.
And 7th in points. We were talking about it upstairs earlier. Blake and I were about where you were, and I said, well, I know he's got a 10th and I know he's got a 12th, so he's got to be doing pretty good. Now, how many total boats are we talking about?
So right now, I think they're at 105. Their cutoff's 125. I did talk to Brad. To be in the first year, some of the guys were kind of skeptical about moving over, and they were real selective of who they put in.
Right, absolutely, yeah.
I think there were some guys trying to get in that they wouldn't let in. I've heard that from some of the people. They want top-notch guys that represent themselves good. They represent their sponsors really well. So that all that goes into play. I do know after talking to Brad, one of the owners, and he's actually the tournament director. He was telling me in June or July, for any guys that may be interested in joining, they're going to start taking resumes for those remaining spots that are open, and in June or July, and then they're going to go through and select to fill the field for next season.
For the following season. So that's kind of funny. People have made fun of us for the elites for doing it, something like that, but now it seems like that might be the best way to do things.
Hey, it's a 1 in 3 payout.
Yeah,
which you're not going to get anywhere else.
Yeah.
I mean, we're at 104, 105 guys, 36th place, $9,000, first place, $50,000. And so it's
that's awesome.
And we do the drive-through weigh-ins.
That is, I was going to definitely cover that.
Yeah, I mean go in, pulling your boat through a line, go walk up on stage, weigh your fish in front of a crowd. The guys when we were Wright Patman, I mean, the crowd was phenomenal.
Yeah.
On Saturday. I mean, it was, I don't know what they showed on there. I haven't went back and watched the total weigh-in, but there was people all over the place.
Yeah.
And
up into that big thunderstorm came through.
Yeah, when thunderstorm came, it kind of dissipated everybody.
They were. But. He actually had some very nice things to say about Catfish Newton there, Mr. Taylor. We discussed him because, he is a very colorful personality. But your words were kind of like, he's just like you and me. Just
he's a great guy. I'm going to tell you, I've met, being there, and I've met Catfish. I met Fat Cat Newton, and I've met David Dudley. And
Why did I say he said Catfish? It's Fat Cat.
Fat Cat Newton.
Fat Cat Newton.
Super great guy.
Fat Cat.
I mean, he's a phenomenal guy to meet one-on-one. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
And then David Dudley and Luke Duncan, their commentators are.
The commentators are good. They make the. It's a long day calling an entire 8-hour day of fishing,
especially when we're not catching anything. They're sitting up there.
They do a really good job. They're good. And let me set this down, guys. Listen, Sandlot's good. Rookie, they're all good. Bull Durham's best. End of story. All right. So end of story. It's the baseball for adults. All right. So there we go, like that. One of the things that let's talk about this is the drive-through weigh-ins like that. What do you think about that as you're pulling up like that? What is it? I mean, I know they do it but y'all do it every single day. Do
it all 3 days.
All 3 days.
Everybody, all 3 days. If you got fish, you're going through that line. So when you walk up, I mean, it's seeing the crowd there and going through. It's like the old Bassmaster. They tried to duplicate the old Bassmasters because where everybody was driving through.
Yes.
So, which is, I mean, and it's really good because it gives the sponsors on the side of the boat. I've had some of my sponsors like, man, I've seen it great going through.
Absolutely.
And it's really good to put it out for those aspects of it. And, getting to walk up on stage and seeing all the people out in front of you. I mean, it's really good. I like it.
Get your heart
It
bumping and
does,
stuff. Seriously,
especially when you got a big bag on.
there you go. And what let's go back to the Texarkana tournament, because you had a chance there for a while.
I did.
I ain't trying to make you feel bad, but I was in here rooting hard
good
for you. So let's talk about the Thursday.
Yeah.
That Thursday going in, first day. Tell everybody a little bit about the conditions and what you were doing.
Thursday we had that front rolling in. We thought we were going to have some storms coming through on Friday, so the front was in front. We were fishing in front of that front, so the fishing was really good. And I had about 19 pounds, and I kind of laid up. I thought, we got 2 more days of this, so I'm not going to just beat on my fish because I got 2 more days to go. So I kind of laid up, and I come in, and I was in 14th place with 19, almost 19 pounds. So I was like, man, I knew Carson got a jump on us, which had 25, which I expected somebody, to crack.
Now, was he local?
Bag. No, he's from Florida.
He's from Florida. Okay,
Florida.
That's the one thing I couldn't remember.
Yeah, he's from Florida.
He led wire to wire.
He did. Yes.
So he got that day 1 jump.
Yes.
But still, with 19 pounds, you're feeling pretty good.
You're not that far off. You're a little bit behind, but with that kind of fishery, I thought, you can make it up. You got a shot to make it up.
Right.
And, that second day was another great day. I mean, I think I weighed in 23-1 that second day.
You did, yeah.
And, we were still fishing that post-frontal conditions, and because the storm hadn't really got there to come through and their weigh in, and the fish bit really good. I leaned on them a little bit more, and I was like, man, I kind of figured out where they were at, how they were setting up. If you go back and watch the video, there's trees everywhere.
Yeah.
But, those fish are like any other fish, any kind of lake fish. They set up on the points. They set up on outside edges. When that water starts dropping off of those islands, they were coming to those points on those islands, and I had them pinpointed. I could pull up and knew I was going to get a bit when I did. So
now, do you use what kind of grass do you use?
I got Lawrence. I run Lawrence.
You run Lawrence's. All right. Well, in this tournament, did it make any difference with those things? Did you even use them hardly at all with the amount of stuff you're tossing?
I didn't use my active target because it was so shallow. I mean, I'm sure I could have, but I was really keying in on. I was main lake. A lot of the guys were in the creeks. I was staying on the main lake because I was catching pre-spawn fish that were coming, and those fish were replenishing coming off of those islands and pulling in off the lake. And so I was kind of keying in on it. I say deep water was close by, but I mean everywhere out there was 4 foot, so it didn't matter.
Right.
It's just the water was falling every day, so they were pulling out to the points.
Okay.
But then that last day we had a storm roll through that night, and my water muddied up a lot. The wind picked up and I thought the wind would help, and it would have, but as the lake was falling, those islands muddied up. The wind was crashing in so hard it started muddying the water up really bad.
Right.
And fresh mud is never good. I don't
like
fresh mud. I always like
right.
And I stayed out there too long, and I should have run in the creek. And if I'd have run in the creek, I could have salvaged. Probably still should have finished in the top 5, but I was stubborn trying to make those fish bite because I knew they were bigger fish, and that was my chance to win.
Right. You were going for it.
There. Yeah.
You were going for it. Let me address this one comment real quick by Mark Schultz. Yeah, but as far as the Spotify and iTunes, listen, we just straight up honest, we kind of were worried about the live show and how, given the fact that I read through comments and all, would sound on Spotify and iTunes. So the plan is going back to doing the podcast and stuff like that, where we come in with an individual and I will record it, and those, like the originals, will go back on Spotify and iTunes. And that was the plan that we were going to start a couple weeks ago, right before we had the great internet shortage of 2021 here. So nothing at the store has worked. So it kind of threw our plans behind, but we are going back to that. So I'm going to be recording some podcasts per se, one-on-one, no comments, just me and the individual. And those are going back onto iTunes and Spotify here in the very near future. You can still also watch them on YouTube as you would like, but that's the plan for right now. We just had a curveball thrown. That's what happens when you live in the mountains of North Georgia and they bury all your internet cable lines right here, and something goes wrong and you call them up, they're like, Mr. Pruitt, I'm gonna be honest with you, we just, it's kind of hard to get to some of these places, and we don't know where the leak's at. So but that's I appreciate your patience with that, and that's it. Now if you guys want us to throw these lives on there, we can, but given the fact that I do a lot of reading off the comments, We just thought it might be strange for somebody in another state who's never listened, pull it up, and they're hearing me talk to an individual like Chris Taylor or Tim White or somebody that we know on a personal basis. And, you kind of lose that when you're just listening to it on that. So the live shows will continue to be this, but definitely I know you guys have been really, not you per se, but a lot of people have been really pounding me on getting the podcast back going. And so we're going to definitely do that in the future. So we'll have a good mix and get you some content back on Spotify and all that. So definitely appreciate, though, that you're here tonight watching. And but yeah, and I miss doing those one-on-one podcasts. So definitely I look forward to doing that again here in the very, very short future. Got a list, including some guys we've done before. For those that don't know, Jimbo, I reached out to him. We did one of his earlier. He's going to come back on, and we're going to kind of have the podcast number 2. Where we talk about how life has changed since we did the first one and some of the things that he's doing and, stuff that he's seeing on Lakeland there. So he's already said he's going to come on and do another podcast with me. So we'll get that out. So again, though, thank you. And I just wanted to address that comment, and the ability to address that comment would be lost on a podcast if you didn't know what I was just doing. So that's a perfect example on that. So I'm going to ask you a really tough question.
Okay.
I mean, really tough, because I was rooting hard for you here.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Number one, did you know? Could you see the leaderboard?
No, we're not allowed to watch the leaderboard.
So you don't have the leaderboard.
I can key in my weight, but I'm not allowed to watch.
So you had no idea.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that was one question, because during the day when we actually could try to pull you up, and I'm watching the weights, and the weights we can watch live. So I'm seeing, what's his name that won it? What's his name again?
Keith Carson.
So I'm seeing his weight.
Yeah.
And I'm looking for Jesse, and I'm looking for Jay. And I was wanting to know, did you know? You had no idea.
No. So in our thing, we're not allowed to, even when we're on the water, we're not allowed to ask a non-competitor about anybody else, or we're not allowed to go on and look while we're fishing.
Okay.
What we have is kind of what we're allowed to put in our weights on an app. If you'll see us sometimes grab our phones.
I do, and that's what I didn't know if you had a scoreboard.
So there's an app that we're able to go on and put our fish on, but
you don't know anybody.
I don't know
else.
what anybody else has unless I see another competitor on the lake. I can ask that competitor, "Hey, how'd you do today?" We can talk.
Okay.
If he's fishing the tournament.
So that's something that I didn't know, because as we were watching that, I was like, when you use the app, I thought you might.
I asked that question. I asked that question. Of can the guys look, because in the rules it says you're not supposed to get any information. So I asked me and the tournament director. I had this conversation, and they put that rule in there for a reason, and the reason was so if so and so was catching them really good, and you happen to be within sight of him or around him or seen him through the day, and you looked at the leaderboard and you knew he was catching them, then it would keep you from going to him and fishing.
Okay. So, preventative measure.
Yes. So that's what it's all about.
Okay. All right. So that makes sense. So my question was going to be, I was under the understanding thinking that the app had a leaderboard on it.
No.
Okay. So so that takes that one
each day. I mean, I'm looking back. I mean, especially that final day when I got 3 fish for the longest of time, and they're dinks, and I'm like, I just blew it. In my mind, I'm thinking, I'm gonna, and I'm calculating in my mind how far am I ahead of 36, because that's checked. You're looking at $9,000. I'm like, man, I got, and I thought, if I caught 5 pound, that would put me, they'd have to catch 18 to 20, everybody below me.
Right.
So when I got there, I was like, but still, I'm thinking all this time, I was like, man, I'm still trying to win.
Yeah. But you're counting cards in a sense.
Still in my mind, I can do that. But I mean, at the same time, I'm like, here I have, I was second going to the final day. And
that's what I was going to say. And I wanted to ask a tough question.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
it's tough,
because I fish tournaments not on your level, and generally we're from the bottom and we're working our way up. But you went into the last day at second.
Yeah.
So I knew
it was tough. Yeah. I knew it was tough fishing because I was getting a lot more bites, and we were on that post frontal condition,
right?
Bright and bluebird, sunny sky.
Yes, absolutely.
And after 2 hours of throwing a swim jig and 2 and 3 hours of throwing a swim jig, and I didn't get a reaction, not one.
Right.
That's when I started picking up flipping, and and I was like, I got to slow down and pick these fish, which I haven't done all week.
Right.
I'm throwing a swim jig all day long.
Yeah, right. And all of a sudden,
and then I finally, and I knew fish were on a certain areas. I knew I could catch them. And I don't know if you'll go back and watch the camera guy. I tell my camera guys, like, I'm going to catch one on this bank because it's right. It
Yeah.
was the right depth. It was the right, everything was right. And I did. I caught one down there. It was my first keeper. And they thought I wasn't putting my weights in on live. And I was like, no. They're like, then I finally put that in. I was like, no, it's the first one I've caught all day.
Well, that's what I'm saying. They was like, I think at one point they said, we're going to have to have a talk with them or
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah.
That I remember. But that's kind of what I was wondering. I didn't realize there was no scoreboard.
No.
On that,
so we're,
yeah.
we're not allowed to watch it. But I will say that there's the competition in that so strong that you can bank on even post frontal conditions and stuff that somebody's going to get.
Oh, somebody's going to. And what's his name caught them all. I mean, he didn't have as many the last day.
Right.
Of course, everybody went down a little bit the last day, but he was just his tournament from the get-go.
I've always said when you're fishing tournaments, when it's your time, it's your time.
And it was his. He would,
when it's your time.
Yeah.
And, and there's, but I will say at Wright Patman Lake, if any of you guys watching ever get a chance to go there, it's 10 and a half hours away, but it's a phenomenal fishery.
Yeah. You said it was great the second you walked in the door.
When we were there in practice and the bites we were getting in practice, just when you got bit, it was a good fish. It was just,
gotcha.
And I caught my first fish in practice and it was 3-pounder, just like it was nothing. And I was like, man, you could just tell. And, but if you ever get a chance to go to Texarkana too, I mean, that place is, I don't know if you can stay in Arkansas and Texas in the same street.
Right. Yeah, I know. It's,
you can be in 1 foot in one state and 1 foot in the other.
Just like up above Blue Ridge or whatever that.
For all you guys like barbecue, that's probably the best barbecue I've ever ate out there.
Ah, seriously, really?
Yes. Neiman's Barbecue. Not a sponsor. No, I have nothing. But I ate there 3 nights when I was there.
Good stuff.
It's really good barbecue.
Neiman's Barbecue.
Neiman's Barbecue.
There you go.
Yes.
You're pulling up the last day, last weigh in. You've had a pretty tough day, and you see that you just said in your mind you're counting down 36. I mean, so in your mind you're thinking some worst case.
Yeah.
But you come in and you salvage still a 12th place finish.
I was kind of shocked. Great. I salvaged. That's what I was going to say.
12, so how did that feel when you found that out?
To know the day that I had that coming in, because I did lose one big fish flipping. I set the hook and it took me in front of the boat and I broke my line. And I knew that was the fish I really needed.
Right.
Because I was only 4 pounds out of second. And I was like, and I had 3 dings. I had 3.5 pound fish in my live well. Right. And knowing that I was still able to keep going and salvage my day, just finish 12th, there, I was like, that's what, when you're fishing, anytime you're fishing, not just there, you got to stay mentally focused for 8-9 hours a day. Right. And to know that I could still stay mentally focused after only having 3 fish for 8 of those 9 hours. Yes. I mean, I was like, it could still happen. In my mind, I was like, one stretch, you can pull up and catch 20 pounds on one stretch. Yeah. So that's the point that used to, I'd get spun out. I'd be like, oh man, I'm done. I'm out. But now I guess I've got older and fished more. I just like, just keep going. If it's meant to happen, it'll happen. Yeah. And still a hell of a day. 12th out of, again, 100 how many 104, 105. 105 in that. Yeah. And so your total weight for the 3 days was what? Do you remember? 47, something like that. Yeah, it was good. I mean, it was definitely good. So, all right. So we've I'm gonna do a little shameless plug. What kind of swim jig was you throwing? A True Grit tackle. Swim jig. True Grit tackle swim jig. Who tied it? So Danny tied it. And it was white with some strands of orange. White with some strands of orange. So let's go behind this jig. So I first time I ever come into Danny's shop, I see something over there. I was like, whose swim jigs are those? He's like, Rob had me made these swim jigs. And I was like, Rob Young. That's Rob right. You're still watching. I think I'm going to take all of them. He did. So I bought them all. He did. And I've been throwing it ever since. So I just, great swim jig. I mean, the hook's great. I mean, it's weedless. I mean, I can say nothing but good things about it. Well, and it takes hook, who's using it too. Though, the hook, when I stuck those fish, they were stuck. I mean, you hook a 6-pounder. I had a 6-pounder the second day get me around a twig. And there you thinking, oh man, you get the 6-pounder wrapped up. I leaned on it and that hook stayed hooked. And and I pulled him out of there. Yeah. So it's a good, for all you guys looking for a swim jig. And I've thrown a lot of swim jigs, and I can tell you it works great. It does what it's supposed to do. Does what it's supposed to do. That's all we can ask for like that. So, and actually, those of you within the next few days,
our website, True Grit Tackle website, will actually be up, and I will have that swim jig on there that you can buy yourself. So shameless plug, but again, I'm actually proud though that you were using something that we had made here to catch fish on a national level. I just thought that was the greatest thing. And the hat.
I had, hey, for you guys that go back and watch, and you'll see some, I don't know if I posted pictures. I think I posted pictures on my Facebook page, but on Wednesday, NPFL set up some things for us to go out and meet some kids out there in Texarkana.
Yeah.
So we got to go to these ranches, and there was a ranch that we went to, and it was for unprivileged children that, their families had passed away or been given up or something like that. So there was a couple out there, they had bought 5 houses. They own like 5 houses, and they housed all these kids to come in. And they live on there, and they had these ponds, so we got to pull the boats over there. And to see those kids get up in the boats and experience, and then to hear some of their stories was phenomenal. So go on and look at my page, and you'll see some great pictures of some kids we got to meet there.
That's awesome. So that's good stuff right there.
Rob, I've already requested those, Rob.
we
I
already
told him you couldn't have them for 2 weeks.
That's right. That's definitely right. So, great stuff. Yeah, those pictures, I remember seeing that. So that's a good thing that we're doing behind the scenes that the NPFL is doing.
Yes.
And stories like that will change your perspective a great deal.
Yes.
When you're struggling, but you can say life's not that bad, and so you make fans that way. Them kids will be following you.
We got to meet some great people out there in Texarkana. We met the mayor. It's out there. I mean, it was just a great town. I mean, I hope we go back, not just for the fishery. I mean, I felt like the town was very appreciative of us being there.
Yeah.
Some places you go, they're like, oh man, we got the fishing guys here. But everybody there was great when we were there.
Well, it's a good boom for the local economy when done correctly.
Yes, it is.
And Lord knows there's a lot of places that need a little boom right now.
I tried to get some boom. I'm putting in a word, try to get them to come to Lanier next year.
Well, hey, there you go. We definitely listen and let us know what we can do to help make that possible. It's like that. So let's talk Harris Chain. All right. So I appreciate your honesty though on that.
Yeah.
I knew I could ask you how that last day was. I knew you'd be honest and ask. No, I know, but there's some people you can't ask that question. So I appreciate your honesty on that. But let's move forward. We're thinking positive. We're going to Harris Chain. Now, this is going to happen first week of
June the 3rd through the 5th.
June the 3rd through the 5th.
The tournament starts June the 3rd. So you can go on YouTube and watch all 3 days of live coverage on YouTube.
And listen, you also can follow them on Twitter. Right? Do they have their social media?
I know it's Instagram. I know it's Facebook. I'm not sure if it's Twitter.
I think they got a Twitter now.
Maybe, I don't know.
I think that we have a Twitter. Nobody knows about it, but we do have a Twitter too. So, but it's really good stuff. You can go back and watch it. And again, there's a point where back at Texarkana where Fat Cat or whatever, he comes up to you and he talks to you during the day. It was one of the days you didn't have a camera on your boat, but he still found you out and he knew you.
So that's what the score tracker is. When we load our fish, and some of the guys are not doing it, but they want us to load our fish because that's how they make a TV show.
Absolutely,
that's how they make their show. So when we load our fish and they say, "Hey, so and so's caught 20 pounds,
making a move,"
we need to go find them. So they'll text us, say, "Hey, share your location." And they'll come to us and sit there. They'll bring a camera and sit there and talk to you on another boat or get in the boat with you and stay with you the rest of the day. So, it's all to get coverage for them to teach people how to fish. I mean, there's so much learning on that. Even David Dudley was talking on there. He's like, I fished all these years and I watch more live. He's like, I'm a live junkie.
It is.
He's like, you learn so much from, and it's not just me. I sit back and watch it from other guys. I mean, I watched David Gaston at UFO throw a swim jig, which, he finished second on a swim jig.
Yeah.
And, to watch him throw that swim jig, to do the things he does with it is phenomenal.
Yeah.
So, and then you watch John Suckup, who was a live target guy. He sat out there and, this Garmin and, throw the jerk bait. So you learn so much watching all this stuff.
Well, that's just like when we talked earlier tonight about the bedfish. Because I watched you do that and I was learning. I'm like, okay, I mean, I'm rooting for you, but I'm also learning. I'm like, okay, he's not setting a hook on that little one. Where a lot of us are like, okay, we're done. There's a technique he's doing. So I definitely can vouch for the live stuff.
Yeah, it's a great learning experience. Even if it's not, like I said, it's any live you can watch. if you just pay attention to those guys, I mean, I learned from it. I sit back and watch some
Right.
guys. So, you know, it's a good tool to
It
have.
is absolutely awesome. And again, we have it here on at the store, of course, because we're associated with you, and True Grit's a part of you. What? Let's see. What was that question? What's the True Grit do you use called, and where can we buy it? I tell you what, we're gonna call it the Millsap Special. It's gonna be on the True Grit website, which will be up in a couple of days. Okay. But we'll have a little section for swim jigs, and you'll be able to buy it there. All right. So we haven't named it. And again, I don't have one. If you came into the store, I could just show it to you. But as far as those that are not in the store, that's going to be the easiest way to do it. Give us a couple. By the end of the week, that website should be up, and then you can buy just about any True Grit jig out there.
Yeah, so it's not just a swim jig. I mean, you guys make football heads,
yeah.
heads.
And actually, I've had a lot of requests for the brush heads.
Yeah.
A lot of people doing that. So, and that's going to be separate from Fish North Georgia. So we're trying to make True Grit stand on its own. And so it's going to have its own site. You can always come into the store here and be able to buy them, but this will be a place for those who are not able to get to the store to purchase any of them. And we'll continually be adding, a jig or two colors and stuff as we come up.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Danny, but also on the website, you can go on and customize your jig.
You can.
We will be custom built.
Yeah.
Whatever color you want.
We're going to be offering that. I got to figure out how to put it up on the site, but it will be that. Like if you came in the store right now and you went to all the jig colors we had and said, I'd like a tab of this, tab of that, tab of that. We tie it up, boom, boom, boom. And we can send you out there. There's going to be a way for you to do that on the website as well, that you'll have some tab colors. You can choose your base, stuff like that, and your head. So we're definitely going to do that. Your favorite swim jig trailer, and why do you pick one over the other? So how about that?
So like when I'm fishing it shallow, I want to throw it like a chigger crawl or a zoom, the super speed crawl, because it keeps it buoyant. I mean, those big paddles keep it up in the water column a little bit easier. If it's more finesse and I want to go a little deeper, I'll use like a ultra vibe speed or even a paddle tail swim bait. Something of that nature to get it down a little bit further.
And you pretty much so far have been using just basically white or pearl color.
Yeah,
with the
the white. I mean, the white, and then the black and blue works good too.
Yeah,
it's just whatever you have confidence in.
Mm-hmm.
There's a time the black and blue probably might work a little better. I was throwing the white in dirtier water because I felt like everybody else was throwing black and blue.
Right.
But out there, I mean, it was, if you put it in front of one, those fish are going to eat. It didn't matter what color it was.
That's true, crazy. Right there. Absolutely. But it was, it was great. Fishing with Farmer, I'm using those jigs. Hey, he's another one of our True Grit guys. And on the website, too, it's going to have a section where you'll have Jesse, and we'll have some information about Jesse and ways that you can follow him, because he definitely, he supports True Grit. Farmer, Jonathan Farmer is the same way. William Brewer is a nationally renowned, however you want to say it, kayak angler out of Virginia. He is on our staff as well. So definitely we got some really good guys that are backing us. So that's what it takes right there. Do you use the Alabama shake? And that was, I'm glad he brought that up, or straight retrieve. Now, all right, so the Alabama shake for everybody, you're basically doing this.
You're not stopping.
You're not stopping. You shake it the whole way.
I can promise you, if you throw the Alabama shake, and at the end of the day your arms are not hurting, you didn't do it. Right.
You didn't do it right. It is continuous motion.
Hey, you'll sleep good tonight.
How about this? You like that? You do that?
So sometimes I do. Sometimes I do the shake. Yes, absolutely. And then sometimes the straight retrieve, I don't never straight retrieve it. I will reel it and stop it and let it kind of fall.
Yes.
And then pick it back up.
Right.
So I'll do that some, because sometimes I think when you get like to grass lines and to, maybe the little deeper tree or something, you can stop it thing, let it fall down and pick it back up.
Right.
You'll get that reaction just immediately.
What are we trying to, Brian Markison, you are a somebody, sir. Don't ever say that to yourself. You're a somebody to me. The Alabama shake, what are we trying to do with that?
It's
just create some movement.
Create movement. Movement away from the jig. It's like. But
wouldn't that be where a chatterbait would come in?
See, a chatterbait puts off a lot of vibration. To me, a swim jig's it's more of a finesse profile.
Okay,
I guess
all
you could
right.
say where chatterbaits, you're moving a lot of water.
Gotcha. Okay.
I mean, sometimes I use it like a spinnerbait and stuff. So, but that I don't know. I don't know what it is. I just think there's
It's what you have confidence in.
some fish hadn't seen a swim jig.
I got
So
you.
it's just like I mean, I'm gonna take that thing.
Yeah.
If you've never fished out in the grass like at Neely Henry or Weiss or somewhere like that, when they're really on it, you're missing out.
Now
Go do it.
Go do that. So I imagine, of course, you follow that. You said earlier in the program that the swim jig is still, the shad spawn might be there, so swim jig still might be in play in what grass is left.
I can promise you in 2 weeks, my son's going to pick one up, and that's all he's going to throw the whole tournament. Probably just tournament because he just loves it.
Just loves it. Listen, I had never. This is how you have influenced me. I've never used a swim jig in my entire life.
Mm-hmm.
When we fished over here at Hickory Log in Canton,
mm-hmm.
all right, I actually threw a swim jig,
mm-hmm.
and I actually threw the one that I made for you with it,
mm-hmm.
and I actually caught some bass on it. And those are the first time I've ever used a swim jig. Now, I'm still not proficient in when and where to throw it at the best time, but I actually did bring over one and just got annihilated. And when they hit it, they hit it. So that's the one thing about it. There's no mistake in the bite of a. It's not. You're not gonna. There's no rat-a-tat-tat.
No,
they kill it.
I've seen them like hit. I've seen them miss it.
Right. Yeah. Or maybe nip the trailer or something like that.
I've seen them just come up and maybe just miss it. They got like if you're working it too slow.
Yeah.
They don't get too good a look at it and they'll get to it and go back off of it. And then I've seen them. You can be working it and they'll explode on it like top water.
Yeah, I mean they can dismember that thing. I mean it's definitely a great. I enjoyed it. I just got to do it more often.
Yeah,
and get confidence in it. But you did influence me.
You've never had a swim jig bite. If you've never seen a 4-pounder and 5-pounder roll on a swim jig and get it, you got to try.
It is. I'm hooked. I just got to figure out when and where to throw it and stuff. Yeah. Do you ever use a swim jig in open water or on a ledge?
I've used it in open water. I'm sure it'd work on a ledge too. I mean, we'd actually talked about it using it in Florida on that deeper grass.
Okay,
throwing one and letting it work, and kind of hopping it over that deeper grass. I'm sure it'd work. I mean, it's still a reaction bait, no matter which way you look at it. It's just if you're trying to work it in 15 or 20 foot of water, it's gonna be a little slower process than a fish that's shallow.
Gotcha.
It's designed more for shallow water fishing.
Yeah, it is. I'll say what retrieve did I use? Two. I can remember definitely. The first one I caught up towards the dam, one of the big pockets over to the left. When you go way on back in there, it was very shallow. We're talking less than 3 foot of water.
Mm-hmm.
And I had chunked it. And actually there were some smaller beds. Didn't even see these fish though. And I was on that. I was doing what I would call the shake because I was trying to keep it up out of the grass, out of that mush grass, and it got annihilated. And then coming out of that pocket, deeper water, but it was, and this was one thing that Jonathan Farmer showed me on Lanier. I threw it into a blowdown, into the junk. And that's one thing with the swim jig that you can do is you can bring it through just trash or a whole blowdown or whatever. It will come through there in the middle of it. So that's a lot of people, he's mentioned grass and rocks and stuff like that. But you can throw one of them things and bring it through a down tree, whatever, stuff like that. Absolutely. And that's where I was coming through a down tree, had hit a branch, popped it over that branch. And the second it come through the last branch and got outside of the tree, it got rolled, and it was actually, but it's an exciting bite because you see that again. And actually Josh was in the front of the boat and he goes, he's got it. I mean, even he saw it hit before I did.
Yeah.
Before I even felt it. So it is. Do you throw a swim jig for spotted bass?
So this if you weren't here earlier, but I did catch some spots on it this year at Lanier beside the dock.
Yeah, that's right. In March.
I mean, usually the only reason I did because I had it tied on from you and you follow when I got back from you follow.
Right.
And I just picked it up and I was literally looking for spawning fish and I went by a dock and I fished it beside the dock. And I actually caught a 4-something spot on it. And I was like, there's more to this.
Yeah.
So me and Logan go back the next weekend and I was like, there's a swim jig by the docks. He was like, okay, let's just go do that. It don't matter if we win or not. We're going to do that all day.
Right.
He had a blast. You throw it beside the dock and you see a 3-pound spot run out and grab it. It's annihilate that thing. It's crazy.
Now,
so yes, they will eat it.
They will. I remember him telling me about that. So listen, maybe we're starting something here. I don't know, but it's an exciting bite for sure.
Yeah.
It is, but it's something again that you got to have some patience with and get to learn to use it and get confidence.
Logan actually caught 2 in open water. Somebody's asking about open water.
Yeah.
We were fishing blowdowns and docks and stuff, and we were in between, and we were actually going down a bank, and there was nothing. It was just rocks, and he throws it up on the bank and catches 2 back to back in open water.
Yeah.
So
what do you think? What do you think makes a difference? So in the swim jig we make, of course, we've got the spherical, the head's different than a regular archy style. But what is really the difference? I've actually heard several people go, well, I mean, can't you just do that with any jig? I mean, you technically you can.
Yeah, absolutely. But I just think yours got a bigger hook.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, it does have a hook,
but better. I don't like my hook to flex. Some of me buy the hook will flex.
Yeah,
and I don't like my hook to flex.
No, our hook don't flex. But as far as technically, I guess you could take a skip or archy style jig.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you could just get one in the right colors.
There's guys I know some guys that throw bluegill colors. They throw brown. They throw black. The color is your preference. I like a white because I can see it.
Yes.
In dirty water, I can see it. In clear water, I can see it. Same with with a black and blue. Especially in the darker water that stands out, I think they get it a little easier.
Right.
So, I mean,
and again, reaction.
Mm-hmm.
But they will absolutely crush it. Archy heads. What's up, Casey Blanton? I'm glad you're here. Archy heads and bigger style heads catch the grass a little more. That's a good point too.
Yeah, if you got that spearhead like what you guys make, it does come through everything a lot.
It does. Yeah. So, favorite swim bait trailer for a swim jig, or do you mostly throw crawl style? Now you kind of mentioned that earlier. It depends on what you're doing.
Crawl style.
Yeah. Double tailed mostly.
Yeah, like the Z. My son throws the Z crawl a lot too. He throws the Z crawl juniors.
Right.
That kind of bait, and then he'll throw you can throw like a power swimmer or a Kitech or something like that on the back of it. A lot of guys do that in Florida. They throw that on their back of them just because it's shallow so it's whatever you have.
Confidence. Yeah, we'll get you on that swim bait though. Hey, I missed you too, buddy. I'm glad to be back. I'm rusty, you can tell, but definitely glad to be back behind the microphone and trying to learn again from guys like Jesse right here, trying to learn all their secrets. So, all right. So let's take the last part of this show, and I'm sure we'll have more questions as we go, but let's concentrate on what's coming up for you at Harris. Again, never seen the lake.
No, I've never been there.
Never been there. So you got to break it down. And so Harris
has consisted of, I think, 9 different lakes, 8 or 9.
It's a big chain because it's basically the name is the Harris chain of lakes.
Right. So,
all right. So
yeah, we got a lot of different ones. So
is it a river system, more to say?
No, it's more lakes. They're like bowls. They're like bowl lakes. They're big bowls.
And then just so to be like a bowl lake with a little river with a bowl lake canal.
Canals that run in between them.
We got levees and stuff like that. You got to go in.
We got locks and stuff. Got one lock. We'll have to go in it. I think it goes from one of the lakes over to Griffin.
Okay.
So when I go there, I'm probably going to choose a couple lakes because we get 3 days of practice. So I'm probably going to fish 2 lakes. Try to find them in 2 lakes. Try not to waste time trying to go to 7, 8 lakes because in 3 days you can't break those lakes down.
Right.
So I'm going to try to stay in those. Try to pick 2 lakes that I think it's going to hold an abundant amount of fish because I don't think we're going at the greatest time of year, but I think you could see some big stringers caught. If you get on them, you're going to catch them.
Once you figure it out,
you pull the right shell bed or you pull the right brush pile, there's a 25-pound stringer there.
Okay.
I feel like there's probably going to be an offshore bite of brush piles. There's probably going to be an offshore bite of.
Now, when you say offshore bite of brush piles, though, in Florida, we're not talking about the same thing as offshore at Lake Lanier.
8-10 foot.
8 to 10 foot is offshore.
Yeah.
Which is very interesting. But it is offshore.
It's Florida.
Right. Absolutely.
Fish in Florida live shallow. They're not. I'm not saying you can't catch them in 15 foot of water.
Right.
And somebody may, I'm sure, but there's not as much 15 to 20 foot water in Florida as there is here.
Yeah, right. Absolutely. Yeah. It's real quick, do you super glue your trailers? I want to get that question in for him.
I don't, but I should because I go through a lot of them.
Yeah, no, that is a good. That is a good.
I should. Yes.
Eddie Williams, definitely thank you for the compliment. I'm gonna be making Eddie some jigs, some True Grit stuff here to be picked up Friday. So definitely appreciate your support right there. But again, let's get back to the Harris chain right here. 7? Did you say it was 7 lakes?
7 or 8.
7 or 8.
Maybe even 9. I'm not sure.
Okay, you're going to pick out 2 or 3.
I'm going to pick out 2 lakes, and there's going to be a lot of island involved because it's shell beds. I mean, we're finding the shell beds, brush piles. I'm going to break down. I'm going to try to fish a lake each day.
Okay.
Well, like the first 2 days, I'm going to fish one lake, or the first day I'm going to fish a lake. Then I'm going to try to go to another lake and fish one day at another lake.
Right.
And whichever lake I try to do the best in, I'm going to spend my final day in that lake trying to figure out a little more.
When you go to break down and pre-fish a lake, now I noticed earlier you talked about, and it might have been when we were upstairs, you would get a bite, you would feel it, you wouldn't set the hook, you'd free spool it, let them go till they drop it. When you're throwing stuff like worms and stuff like that, are we just throwing? How are we're not setting the hook at all? We're just feeling for bites, stuff like that.
When I go,
or do you really set the hook to feel, just kind of see what kind of quality fish you're in?
Yeah. So on like my first day at Harris Chain, when I pull up to a place and if I get bit, I'm probably going to set the hook to see what kind of quality we got.
Right.
And if I start getting numerous bites on certain patterns, then I'll quit.
Okay.
I'll start shaking fish off. If I get a pattern that I'm going, say I'll find them on shell beds in certain depth of water, and I'll find 2 or 3, and I'll go and I get bit on every one, and I might catch them off the first one, and I might catch one off the second one, but after that, for that bite, it's over with. There's no more setting up because,
gotcha.
Especially this time of year, it's going to get tough, so bites are going to come. They're going to get a little harder to come by. So and in Florida, I think you can pull up and catch a 12-inch fish versus a 4-pounder in the same pile. So.
Right. So are you going to try to fish when you're going to break it down? You say, okay, my strengths are A, B, C. So when you're looking at these lakes and you're doing your research now, are you going to pick out a lake that, according to the research, suits A, B, and C, or are you going to go pick out a lake due to reports here recently or big, say like lake number 8 is not one of a lake that suits A, B, and C, but they're catching some big fish out of it.
Yeah. So their time management of running is going to have a big play on what happens.
Right.
Because obviously we're going Memorial Day weekend. So our practice days is Sunday and Monday of Memorial Day.
Yeah.
And then Tuesday, which will get better. But time management on these lakes, on the Harris Chain, is going to be key. So we're putting in at Harris. Harris is one of the bigger lakes.
Okay.
To run from Harris to Griffin, I've been told takes an hour to hour and 15 minutes.
Oh, okay.
It's not so much the run as they have idle zones that could last for 30 to 40 minutes of idling.
Well, that would be painful as a competitor.
Painful as taking. Then you got locks. So you got the one lock going into Griffin. So to get to Griffin could take you an hour and 15 minutes there and an hour and 15 minutes to get back. So you better be on a good school there if you're going to Griffin, or if you're going to a Popka, which I've heard takes an hour and a half to an hour and 45 minutes. So you're losing 3 hours and 15 minutes of your fishing time.
Yeah. So
time management on these lakes will play a key.
Yeah.
Because I think that, because I've heard that pontoon boats in the canals, like you can't pass. You get behind a pontoon boat in the canal, you're there till he goes. You're there. You can't go around him.
That would be painful.
It's idle only.
That would be so painful.
So that's one of the things that has to play in, that will play into effect at Harrison.
That's interesting because of all the things that we've talked about today, time is not one of them that we've discussed.
Time is a big management factor on a lot of lakes we go to.
Okay, so yes, we'll get back on it here. Say, what's the winning weight next week at Eufaula?
I don't know, Rob. How much you gonna have?
How much is Rob gonna have? That's always. I love that question. What's it gonna take to win?
23. I'm gonna say 23 to 25 pounds.
23 to 25. I always ask everybody at our tournaments in the morning. When you get a chance, what's it gonna take today?
Yeah.
Some of them guys know. Some of them guys know. They've been on there. What are your thoughts on the live scope technology and its impact on tournament fishing?
So I think there's a good and a bad to it.
Right.
The good part about it is, yes, it's great. You can see fish, you can catch fish on it. The bad part about it is, as coverage on live going out for live stream, teaching people how to fish, nobody wants to watch a guy stand on the front deck, look at a screen for 8 hours and cast where he's looking at and catch fish. because he's teaching somebody nothing.
It's not great TV.
It's not great TV.
No, right.
And for fishing, for fishing going on, it's everybody wants to see what somebody's catching on. They want to see that power hook set. They want to see that fish get caught on top water.
Right.
They want to see that. If you're standing there and you're watching them on live scope, what's everybody seeing? They say you set the hook.
Yeah.
They don't know what you were fishing.
Right. I got you.
They don't know you're fishing a brush pile unless the commentator says, "Hey, he's fishing a brush pile." They don't really know if you're fishing a brush pile because they can't tell you if you're fishing a brush pile.
Right.
They don't know if that fish was 2 foot deep. They don't know if he was 6 foot deep. They don't know where the fish was at. So it has its good and its bad.
Yeah.
I think I've heard, and I don't know this for sure, but I think there's a time coming that the graphs are getting so big and they're getting so many. Everybody's putting so many on their boats that I think there needs to be a restriction on screen size. So much screen size on the front of your boat. So much screen size on the back of your boat. What you use on there, it's up to you. I think that's the only way they could regulate it. But I don't know if that'll ever happen.
There's too much money involved as far as being able to take it out of the tournaments. It is.
It's insane.
And sponsorship money and all that too.
It's too much sponsor money. It'll never leave tournaments, but it has its time and place.
Right.
I'm still getting used to it. I've used it some, but I'll go ahead and tell you I'm not the greatest at it.
But the screen idea though, that's interesting.
Yeah.
At least saying, okay, max screens are you get on your entire boat 72 inches of total screen, and whether you use 36 in the front, 36 in the back is up to you, but that's all you get.
I think eventually you'll see that happen.
That's interesting because nobody's said that as a way to regulate it.
That's the only way you can, because if not, we're going to keep. Obviously we went from 7-inch screens to 9-inch screens to 12-inch screens. Now we got 16s.
Yeah. That's seriously. We sell them.
Long, you're going to be sitting up there and looking at a 52-inch screen on the front of somebody's deck watching fish.
If you were to go buy a fish finder for seeing structure or sonar, let's see, what type would you get? I'm looking to get one, but I only fish the electric lakes, and he does fish these like Latham and Hickory Log and stuff right here.
So if I'm looking for sonar and structure, I feel like Lowrance has the best as far as sonar and structure.
Mm-hmm.
Every fish finder has their values. Every one of them. Your Garmin's, your Humminbirds. I'm not going to downplay any of them because I think they each have their own things. If I was looking for structure and sonar, I would have to go Lowrance.
And Michael, we do sell Lowrance, so yeah.
It's just not because I run Lowrance. I've had Humminbirds on my boat. Humminbird map, their Lake Master mapping is great. I'll go and tell you, but
you like Lowrance's
2D sonar and structure for down scan and side scan. The mega imaging is great, but for sonar 2D, Lowrance is by
Lowrance. Okay, absolutely. Well, seriously, and that's something that you've got confidence in.
And I'm gonna go back and say this: go to Bass Pro or go to Cabela's and play with them. They're there for a reason.
Yeah, that's true.
Look at them, and what suits me may not suit you. But I can tell. All the years I've fished, I'm a Lowrance guy. I just feel like mine's. I just feel like they're really good.
And again, this is another place where YouTube can play a big point and watch the. You always get these yahoos here and there to do the unboxing videos and that. So you take what they say with a grain of salt, but you can get and watch some higher end guys that have got some experience with it, that will take the time on the videos to show you. To show you the specific options, and you can make that judgment. But you're right. I've heard a lot of good stuff with Lowrance's 2D.
Yeah, their 2Ds are really good. And like I said, it's to what you feel comfortable with.
Mm-hmm.
To me, Lowrance is real easy to navigate. I can touch my screen and go to whatever I want, down, side. It's real simple, real easy. And that plays a big part in what I like.
Right.
I don't like something complicated that I got to search.
I know, absolutely. It's definitely that. Yeah. Will sonar play a big role on Harris chain? Or is it going to be more?
No, I think you're going to see some of it. I think you're going to see some of the active target from Lowrance and Garmin's, and because those fish you're going to see them out in front of the grass.
Okay.
It's going to be, it'll play.
It'll play. It's going to play in this. All right. When we finished with Harris chain, how many more tournaments do you have in the national? The NPFL.
So we get, I think this will be a third one. So we have 3 then the championship.
So you have 6 regular season events.
6 regular season, and the top 25 go to the championship,
All right,
which is
25.
unannounced yet. We still don't know where that's going.
Oh, really?
So it's in November. We know the dates, but we don't know where it would go.
Now, do you know? So you don't know that it could be one of these lakes in this area. It could be in Alaska for all you know.
No, we don't know.
Really, but do they know?
Yeah, they know.
Oh, they know. They're just not announcing it. Okay, that's
so it
good.
kind of levels the playing field for everybody. When we go, it'll be. I don't know what date they're going to announce it. I'm sure they have a.
When will they announce it? Do you know? I mean, how close?
Sure.
All right. So what are the lakes remaining? Just to kind of give everybody a taste of the schedule.
Yeah, we kind of have Harris Chain next, which is in June. Then July we go to Pickwick, which is the Tennessee River. I'm really looking forward to that one. It'll be ledge fishing.
And you like ledge fishing?
Oh, I love it.
Okay,
great.
awesome.
So we got ledge fishing there. And then from there, we go to Lake Winnebago, which is up north. It's smallmouth and largemouth up there. It's
Winnebago.
When it's in Wisconsin, I think.
Oh, so you do go north?
Yeah, we go north. We go up there. So
okay.
And then we come back to Grand Lake in Oklahoma.
Okay, so it's really a good variety of lakes.
So the way they set it up was we were going to have spring, summer, fall, all in 1 year. So we have 5 weeks in between every event.
Yeah.
So 3 of those weeks were off limits. So we can go practice those other 2 if we choose to go.
Right.
But it's set up so they set their league up to allow people to still have a working job but pursue a fishing career if they wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the guys I can tell you, some of the guys I fish against, they leave one event and they go to another event. There's some guys that I know that hasn't been home and since we started.
Really?
Absolutely. Yes.
That would be a tough lifestyle.
A lot of them are younger guys.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some young guys out there that's 20, 25 years old fishing it. And we have some older guys too. So we get to go home, go to work,
I understand. Right.
Still
yeah.
pursue a dream.
Right.
Yeah.
Cooper McDonald had another question real quick. If you were getting a live sight system, would you get a Lowrance or a Garmin?
So it's good you say that because I've had both. I've had a Garmin and now I got Lowrance. I haven't got to use Lowrance enough to tell you that answer. From what I've been told, because I haven't been late to use my Lowrance yet, but the Garmin shows a broader range, but it's not as far. So like looking at 80 feet on a Garmin, you're more limited to, you can see 80 feet, but you can't see as much as you could if you were at 40 and 50 feet.
Right.
Whereas Lowrance, you're not as broad. It's more of a drawed in nose cone, but you can see a little further. So you can see that 60 and 70 feet out there, but you're not going to see as wide perspective.
Gotcha.
That's the difference I've been told between the two. I haven't used my Lowrance yet. I just put it on right before Padman. We didn't need it there. So,
right.
So I haven't got to play with it much, but that's the difference in the two I've heard.
And you haven't messed with Hummingbird's Mega Live or anything like that?
I have seen the Mega down imaging or the 360.
Yeah.
No, I haven't messed with
it. Yeah, you haven't messed with that? No, okay.
I've seen the Mega 360, the Mega side scan, the Mega down imaging and stuff, and it's really good. I will say it's really
they're all good. I mean,
they're all great. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not going to downplay any of them.
You're definitely right. So, all right. So with all this said, when do you think, just out of curiosity, given the way, let's say you have another good, strong performance, 1 or 2, when in your mind will you start going, you know what, I'm getting locked in on that championship? My mentality is like, because you said that was a $250,000 purse.
It is.
That last tournament.
So there's 25 guys fish for that $250,000. It's broken out. So you're fishing them 1 in 25 shot at $50,000 for first.
Okay, so it's still,
you get paid for showing up.
You're getting paid for showing up.
$5,000 if you make the championship.
Okay, all right, gotcha. So it's still a $50,000 first place prize, but you're down to 25 boats. So you're
down to 25 boats. So, I mean, it's always on your mind. Angle of the year, if you fish any professional trail or any trail, angle of the year is always on everybody's mind. Yeah. So, I set out for this, and I'll stick to what I said. When I approach each event, my boat goes in the water. I'm gonna try to win.
Yeah,
and it cost me. I should have won the Bulldog BFL points last year. It cost me because I tried to win the event. If I would have picked up a shaky head and caught 2 keepers, I would have won the points in the Bulldog division. I finished second.
Right.
behind the guy that's fishing the tour now. But I mean, you know, I just, it's hard for me not try to win.
I understand.
Boat in the water.
It's definitely. Now, I'm going to ask you another tough question. Danny, my wife wants to know what's up with the hole in your shorts. Listen, it only goes to right there. It doesn't go all the way up. I'm sorry. It was one of them days, and I actually had planned on going home and changing. I didn't plan on wearing any of this, but you know what? I got busy, and so I know. Just tell her I promise Thursday night I'll have a better pair of shorts on. So definitely with that. And I'll try to I can hide it a little bit. But then you see me from the side. Nobody wants to see that either. So let me ask you this. And this is a tough question. And do it honestly, because a lot of people can't do this, but I want you to give yourself a grade through the first two tournaments. And if it's an A+, it's an A+. Be honest with yourself. I mean, what grade? Not A+, what grade do you give yourself? And I love asking people that because that's a tough thing to do. Being honest about yourself. I'm
probably like on a B.
Okay, and why not an A? Because I mean, you're 7th in points.
7th in points, but I look at it as you know, I was 2nd in the last event, and when you have an opportunity to be set in 2nd and have a shot to win,
yeah,
those are the things that. And Rob, I'll tell you this. I've talked to him about this.
Yeah,
is you got to figure out. There's some guys that can figure out how to win. They can win, and I'm not talking about just on a local level or anything like that. I'm talking about they can just win.
Yeah.
That's the part I'm dealing with now.
You're trying to learn the next level. I'm trying to
learn the next step is going from being in a top 20 guy or top 10 guy to winning. And I know those times are, you know, they're few and far between, especially on the national level.
Right.
You get that shot, you got to take advantage of those shots. And that's why I give myself a B.
Well, listen, that is totally fair and totally honest. So that's like that, but that's a good answer. And I like the fact that I knew if I asked you,
some guys that's fished at the national level that, you know, tell you, you know, your time will come. It will come. I mean, I'm going to use Bill Lowen, for instance. I mean, the guy's fished the Elite Series for how many years?
Oh, a long, yes.
And he's finally, this year, he won one. And, you know, some guys like, I'm going to use Wes Logan because I watched him this weekend. He's a young guy. And he wins first or second, third, whatever, how many years he's been there.
Right.
He's already won one. So, it's just getting that day, you know. One day it's just learning that next curve over to finish it off.
No, and that's why I like the fact I knew you'd answer that question. That's a very fair assessment. Just show up that day saying you're going to kick butt that day. And you do. I get it. I get it.
I mean, you know, you got to have that. I'm not going to say it's a cockiness attitude, but you got to have confidence.
Yes.
When you pull up to the lake, if you don't think you can win, you don't.
Absolutely.
Showing up.
What's the entry fees?
So our entry fees are $5,000 a tournament. We fished at 6 events. It's $30,000, but we have a 1 in 3 payout at 104 boats. They pay back 36 places. 36 places, $9,000. But they did it at $9,000 to not only give you win your money back, and not only that, for what expenses you spend, which is usually between $1,000, somewhere around $1,000, $1,500 for the week. So you're looking at $6,500. So you're still profiting another $2,500,
right?
If you get a check.
And
that was one of the things the owners come to me and said, you know, we didn't want you just to break even.
Right.
We want you to, you know, we want it to be where if you get a check, you know, you made a little money. As you know, and then you got a shot to win.
I've heard a lot of people say that you know what, I could show up and I actually won a little money, but my goodness, I spent more to make that.
Yes,
and so that is a good difference.
I mean,
right,
and I'm not knocking anything with the BFLs or anything like that because they're great events. And I mean, I met some great guys, and I love fishing them. I mean, it's a 1-day derby or a 2-day derby, but in all true reality and honestly, if you don't finish in that top 3 or 4, you lost money.
Yeah, that's true.
If you want to look at it, if you true honesty, you lost money.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Do you guys like the fish limit, or do you like the fish limit or total amount of fish caught? MFL kind of plays it differently.
So I like the 5 fish.
You're a weight guy. Give me 5 fish, and
I don't like 3 fish limits either. I know some of the guys like them, but I do not.
We have discussed that. Even in the
Yes.
summer, if you can keep 3 alive, you can keep 5.
alive. Absolutely.
I know you have said
You ever
that.
come up with that 3 fish stuff? All that was just because some of the guys can't catch 5. To be honest.
Okay, hey,
There's
there you
days I
go.
can't catch 5, but hey, don't turn it into 3 fish.
That's absolutely. Last couple minutes here. Let's go ahead. I know you've talked well about True Grit and all that, but let's give some of your other sponsors and even the NPFL some love. So let's tell everybody where they can watch it, where they can see it, and then talk about your sponsors.
Yeah, so go to the TNPFL on YouTube, all their websites. I mean, I think you can go on their website and watch all the shows also.
Yeah.
You can follow them on Facebook, on Instagram. I know they're both on there. Then I have Berkeley and Abu Garcia. I mean, the great rods and reels, great baits. Berkeley, I've used them.
And he uses them. He's not just, he does use them.
I do use them. So, obviously, True Grit Tackle.
Obviously.
Jigs.
That's right.
We use those. I mean, we're going to use those all year. I'm not only on a swim jig. I'm going to use them on the ledges out there. You know, when we go to Pickwick, I will be throwing a football jig around. Yeah. So, be using those. And then I got Elite Response. They're out of Canton. They do mitigation work. Cody Parker and Eddie Parker. I mean, great group of guys. They kind of helped me out with entry fees and stuff like that. Then we have Power Pole. I picked up Power Pole.
Okay,
so
good.
Shallow water anchor. You know, great products. Just put those on my boat. They work great.
That's awesome. That's definitely
I'm real
awesome.
pleased with those. TH Marine, you know, all their stuff. Everybody knows TH Marine. They have a wide variety of things to go on there. Status Renovation and Remodeling, which is our remodeling company. We do all sorts of remodeling, all sorts and kinds.
Right.
Dave's Lures, I got him up in LJ. He makes a lot of my shaky heads, some of my swim baits, you know, just kind of like True Grit, but just, you know, a down to earth kind of guy. He does a lot of different things. So you can see him on there.
Right.
Let's see who else I got on there.
Hey, listen, it's hard to remember them.
Yeah.
People do not understand how hard it is to remember.
Yeah, and I'm working on Lawrence, so I had them contact me the other day, so guys may see me at some of the Bass Pro shops or Cabela's. You know, they're working some stuff for them, trying to put out some of their stuff. So
that's awesome.
May hook up with them. We're still on the stages of that, but that could be coming along.
Gotcha. Also. Real quick before we end this, Farmer says, what does it take to qualify to fish the NPFL? And you mentioned earlier about possibly what could happen.
The first year, we all started out having to send a resume in of what we fished, you know, where we, you know, been in the past, how long we fished, family. They want to know a lot of stuff, you know, what your stuff that the first year. So they're going to start taking resumes in June and July. I think he said he's going to put it out, so be watching for it. They're going to fill those resumes, but after we're locked in for 2 years. Everybody that's there, we signed a contract for 2 years.
Okay.
With an option on the third year. After that third year, we have to requalify to get there.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, that's good. So that way there will be some movement.
Yeah, and I can tell you guys, if you want in, I mean, send your resume in early. And I've told a lot of guys this already, because I think after the first event, the owner told me he would receive like 300 or 400 requests already.
Yeah.
So it's
going to be growing.
Yeah, it's going to grow.
And definitely listen, if you want to, again, here at the here at the store, we will have the tournament on, you know, the next Harris chain. And so it's very interesting. Or like I said, go back and watch what he said. If you go to the NPFL website or even the YouTube channel, go back and watch it. You can kind of get an idea of what they do. The commentators are really good. They do a really good job, especially going 8 hours. That's a tough job. Yeah. It's a tough gig. It's tough to talk for 2 hours. These guys do it all day long, and it's really good. So you can watch it, and I can tell you, you know, 10 cameras each day. And generally, they find the ones that are the movers or the
if you're catching
the favorites, or it's kind of like that to start off.
Them, they're going to find you.
They're going to find you, and they're going to get on there. So it's really cool to see guys that you know, like Jesse, on there, and then you get the getting the rooting for them and all that. So it's definitely I can see it growing. It definitely is legit.
And I want to give a shout out to everybody around. I mean, the phone calls and the text, and from everybody local that I've got when I've been off, and you know, my family, you know, coming to the events. My mom and dad, my wife's been to both events. They're coming to Harris Chain again. I mean, for them to make the trip, I mean, all the support's great.
It is.
I mean, just because I don't give back to you, don't mean that I don't look. Sometimes it kind of, you're trying to get ready for the next day.
Absolutely.
Or home or something. It's overwhelming. But I mean, have everybody support here at home and seeing everybody rooting for you. I mean, it goes along.
It does,
when you're out there.
and he does read them. I know. I sent him a text on the last night because I get excited for him.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I'm like, listen, it's just because you know somebody and you create a friendship with them, and you just like, man, I want to see him win. I want to see him win. So it's absolutely awesome. So again, all right. So thank you for coming in on tonight and going over that again. And we're gonna have you back in the future as we go and as we learn this and watching. So I appreciate you you coming in. You know, the guys appreciate in the community the knowledge and all that, but you're a good dude, and I hope you win every one of them.
Yeah, we're definitely going to try.
I know, it's awesome. So, guys, again, we thank you for showing back up. You know, we took a couple weeks off due to things out of our control, and again, I'm a little rusty. I definitely can feel the rust on me trying to talk, but we'll get it all squared back away. Thursday night, we've got local hammer up here, Lake Lanier guru Brock Turner. I've been trying to get Brock on here for a long time, and he's finally agreed to come on, and so we're going to talk to Brock on Thursday night. Got some what's this is it Fletcher?
William Fletcher. Yep.
William Fletcher. I talked to Stephen Bardet and William Fletcher. Going to try to get them in together at some point here in the near future. Going to try to get a lot of these guys that got a lot of knowledge, a lot of things going on to kind of show you guys the possibilities, but also make sure we get the guys that are willing to drop the knowledge back to help guys that not all you guys want to go out and tournament fish. Some of you guys just want to go out and catch fish. So we want to definitely tonight. We talked about the swim jig a lot.
Yeah.
So guys, pick you up a swim jig regardless. And again, learn that Alabama shake, stuff like that. Jesse's on Facebook too. Don't look. Follow him.
Yeah, follow me and all the guys on the NPFL. Go on their website. And they put out some great content just when they're not fishing. I mean, a lot of these guys, they're a little better at it than I am. They go on there and they put their stuff out there.
Yeah.
They go out there and put their. I mean, they'll do updates on what they're doing, even on their home lakes. So they're from all over the country. So you can learn stuff from them. Just following them. I think there's a couple guys have some YouTube shows that they do on there too. So a couple of them are fishing the Opens and the NPFL. I think two guys are fishing 9 Opens and the NPFL.
Really?
So they're on the go all the time. So you can watch their stuff. I mean, I think it's the Sickness Outdoors.
Okay.
So Greg Manfield and Joe Willard, great group of guys too. So go on and check their stuff out. And then, like I say, look at all the guys on the NPFL because they're from all over and you can learn a lot of stuff from them.
Absolutely, absolutely. And then you never know, maybe you come up here to the store one day and Jesse will be up there talking to us, and you can just meet him in person and talk to him right then and there. So he's up here from time to time. So again, we appreciate you. We're glad to be back. We'll see you Thursday night at 8:00 on YouTube.